Is it working? Cannot tell if it's working. What? Okay, it's working. What? Well, we just gotta wait for people to show back up, I guess. Just tweeting out the links, making sure everybody knows that we're back. Everybody who... Shabes, remind me what show you super chatted. I think you're the only one I can't remember because it was like a name I don't know. Euphoria with $5 says, never heard you talk about Kaiba. I guess we can do a quick Kaiba rant while we wait for people to pour in. I actually have a video called Should You Watch Kaiba that was meant to be sort of like a parody of Demolition D's, or not even a parody, just like my own take on his Should You Watch series because he hadn't covered Kaiba. And my conclusion is yes, you should watch Kaiba. It's good. It's one of Masaaki Yuasa's shows, kind of the one that I think it's the first one I ever saw. First time I became aware of him. Super trippy art style, really high concept sci-fi adventure story about a world where people's memories can be stored into chips and they can just basically switch those chips into different bodies. And so the body kind of becomes viewed simultaneously as a commodity, but also as kind of worthless in a spiritual sense. Like, people don't regard the body as themselves. They regard it as like a tool. And the way the show explores those themes, the themes of memory and like what happens when memory keeps changing, you know, like its house when it keeps getting rewritten as data. Lots of really interesting sci-fi concepts done, especially in the first half of the show. I think the second half, it kind of becomes a, like, let's take down the authoritarian system, you know, rebels show. And it's fine, but that spoke to me a lot less just because it felt like a story I'd seen done plenty of times, you know? Whereas, like, everything up to that point was way more like, wow, this is some really unique sci-fi ideas that are like nothing else I've seen explored in anime. So I definitely like the first half a bit more than the second half. But it is still just a very strong show. Incredible character designs, incredible soundtrack. I've definitely listened... I've never actually rewatched the show, and it's been over a decade. But I've listened to the soundtrack many times, and I'm now thinking about it because it's got like this one song that there's like 10 different versions of, and I can hear that melody playing in my head now just because I'm thinking about Kaiba. Those of you who've seen it surely know what I'm talking about. So with this sword show, Cosmic Blue said, if it's going to keep taking the stream down, just keep the cash. Here's what we'll do. Alright, here's my super secret strat. We're just going to watch this shit sped up at 4 times speed.
Real quick.
Yeah.
The guy that did the GameStop thing 3 years ago.
GameStop?
The GameStop stock thing?
Yes.
He's doing it again.
He's shorting GameStop stock again?
Well, no, I don't think...
They're just doing it to another thing, or what?
So, I think he didn't short GameStop stock.
He, like,
There
what did he do?
There were, like, Wall Street people that were shorting GameStop, and he just bought a shitload of it.
I see.
And he has now bought a shitload of it, or had a shitload of it again, and he has a bunch of options. I don't really know what any of this means. If someone knows...
Are you trying to pitch to me going in on GameStop stock right now? Because it might just blow up again and be about to tent again. I won't be able to do that even until the 22nd, which will probably be too late. Because I ain't got no goddamn money.
Yeah.
And yes, we did watch Heavenly Delusion, and we covered it on We Watch Anime.
Andy Lou, sorry, can you react to this super chat again?
Oh, well, you can scroll back through the... Wait.
No, you can't.
Wait. Andy Lou's super chat. What was your super chat? Because I only see Euphoria's up here. Wait, what was
It was from the previous stream. He's the one who recommended the cute cat show. And he gave us another
Oh,
$10.
the last super chat saying...
Yeah, this is the last of my Hamon.
Yes, okay. Yeah, we were saying that show is adorable. We will definitely watch the rest of it. It's, what else did I say about it? I just basically said we will definitely end up watching it on our own time because it's really good. And thank you. And I feel like I said maybe something else, but it would have been at the tail end of that other video. But yeah, that show ruled. And yeah, we covered Heavenly Delusion on the We Watch Anime podcast. Wow. I talked about Kaiba. Okay, so we're gonna watch the rest of Reincarnated as a Sword at 4 times speed because I think I'll enjoy it more at this speed anyways, and hopefully it won't get copyright blocked. I mean, I cannot necessarily confirm that that's what got us taken down. Did it say that that's what got us taken down?
I don't know. I didn't.
The video, the VOD, is up right now and not blocked yet. It usually takes a little bit for them to get blocked, so I'm sure it will get blocked at least somewhere, but... Alright, let's watch this at 4 times speed. Yeah, kick his ass. Oh, they got, like, weight collars. This is so much easier to watch at this speed. Yeah, get that Slime King. You got him. You did it. You're the King of Swords. Uh-oh. Seems way OP. I guess they always do. Jesus. There's a principle in writing codified by the South Park writers where they talk about how they write around their scripts around the concept of therefore and but never and then. Like, you don't want to say he went to the store and then he got a burger and then he ate the burger and then, like, it's just boring and predictable. And this is like, and then he fought a slime and then he fought a thing and then he got a power up, and it's like there's never a sense of consequence and reaction. Like, it's literally grinding. He's just been grinding. Grinding's not even really that fun when you're doing it, much less watching someone else do it in a non-consequence setting. Uh-oh, those guys got eaten. You got this. Get him, Lolly girl. This is just like my character from Terra, but without the big hips. Why don't we get more big hip short girls like in Terra? I guess because Japanese girls don't usually have big hips.
Mochi-Pon with another another $30. Watch All Saints Street till you don't want to anymore.
We will do that.
That's just $30 to watch something until we don't want to.
It's not incredible. Mochi-Pon must be having a hell of a day. God damn. Praise be. Wow, this first episode, the first 1 minute of this I really appreciated because it just started off with him being like, I got reincarnated as a sword and this girl wields me. And I was like, awesome, we're gonna skip past all the preamble. And then it proceeded to just do the preamble anyways?
Yeah.
Why? Why was any of that necessary? I feel like the very start, we ended up right where we started, and my understanding of events changed not at all. Nothing changed about my understanding of what was going on in the story between the beginning and end of that. Another super chat from Ripened Disease with $11. Please watch Monkey's anime reviews number 42 and 42.5, available on Internet Archive or YouTube. No speed up, please. Alright, we'll do that, but we are a few, let's see, Caribou Coon I think was the first one. Limitless Paradise, was that the one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of boring. It doesn't help that, like, pacing wise it was so similar to the first episode of that time I got reincarnated as a slime, but that show was so inventive with its visuals, like it made up for the shitty writing. Limitless Paradise. Is this something I can find on here? I think I can. 1981, this seems right. Are we watching? Wait. How much of this are we watching, Caribou Coon? Because this is like 42 minutes long. I think you had given like $15 or something like that? $10? Alright, I guess we'll be sampling this. I assume this is going to be fucking horrifying. 12 minutes, okay. Because it's from the same guy who made Shoujo Tsubaki, aka Midori, which is you remember Midori, right?
Yeah, the guy from My Hero Academia.
You remember that it's like the girl, her mom dies, so she gets sold to the carnival and just like raped a lot, and a lot of violent stuff happens. It was like a 40-minute film that I, early into meeting you guys, had you all watch on Halloween because I thought it would be like spooky, scary, and everybody was just like, this makes me want to die. And I was like, yeah.
No,
All right.
I don't remember this.
Well, this is from the same guy. I guess I can make this bigger, although you're not going to be visible.
Hey, everyone who is in the chat right now, you should go follow Too Many Games at Too Many Games on Twitter. They're trying to reach 10,000 subscribers tonight.
Oh, how many do they have?
9.9K, but yeah, they're less than 100 away.
Limitless Paradise. Why do I get the feeling it's going to be more like Endless Hell? That's a cool shot. I should mention also, Midori is one of the best looking films I've ever seen, and is made entirely by one dude. And I assume this is also made entirely by one dude. The same dude. This would have been before Midori, right? 1981? I think Midori is like a few years later. This is a fucking trip so far. What's especially tripping me out is that aesthetically this is nothing like Midori. Totally different directing style, totally different musical style, totally different art style. I assume it's based on something from a different creator. But yeah, it looks nothing like Midori. This feels like Eraserhead, actually. That's what this especially feels like.
Hey, you watch Salad Fingers?
I guess so. I've never actually seen Salad Fingers.
Really? Oh, yeah. Yes, that's not really your age range.
It is, but like at that age, I was not handling scary stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think I watched it when I was like 15, and even then it was like, what the fuck?
All I had heard about it was that it was disturbing, and anytime that was the case, other people always seem to be drawn to things they heard negative stuff about. If people told me, oh, this thing is so fucked up, I'd be like, yeah, I'm never gonna watch that. I'll leaf blade you with another 20.
We also never watched Murder Drones episode 2.
Yeah, we'll get to that after this.
今日もひどいな。一列になればいいのにと俺が言うと、それは無理だよと彼が答えた。彼の言うには、今の学生には譲り合いの心がないとか、他人の迷惑など顧みないとか言われているが、彼らをそうさせてしまったのは、他人を蹴落として自分が一番になることだけを目的としてきたテスト本位主義であり、受験戦争には学校教育だ。彼らは学校で教えられてきたことを素直に実行しているに過ぎない。あれでいいのだ。もっと暴れろ。
Well, the music might, but I don't. Music usually just ends up with revenue sharing. It's rare that we get in trouble for like the audio of a show, but that seems to be more of a problem than music.
Oh god, that's watch Salad Fingers.
Amazing.
The madman did it, the mad person did it. The mad they did it.
We'll end up there. I feel like we have like an hour and a half worth of queued up requests at this point. We're gonna be here all night.
Yeah. It's a good thing I have tomorrow.
Yeah, this is the only reason we're doing this is that Bird has the day off tomorrow, so we figured it would be possible, but
I mean, I think you should do these without me too.
well, I will, but I meant the only reason I'm doing it with you tonight is I was like, I really want to do one of these with Bird, and tonight was the right timing. That was a really neat shot. Whoa. This both reminds me of Eraserhead and like a little bit The Wall. And neither one in terms of like literal style. It's just entirely in the tone and like the feel that is given to it by the weird particularities of the shot composition and especially the audio design. I feel like the audio environment is just super detailed without sounding clean, which is really interesting. This is kind of what trying to remember high school feels like. I'm especially fascinated by how Neon Genesis Evangelion-esque the like flashing image sequences feel, and this is way before that. Like a clean 14 years before Evangelion. Which really makes me wonder if Ano had seen this or if both of them were drawing from something else. But like this shit is so Eva, it fucking hurts.
Oi, ちょっと付き合っていけよ。何覗いてんだよ。
Love that animation. Step on his ass. Homie getting creamed. Now it's all purple and shit.
I'm just gonna say to the chat, because of the backlog of videos we have, we cannot afford to answer any questions unless you pay money for us to answer.
Oh yeah.
We've got like 2 hours of stuff.
We're heavily in the queue. These fucking badass bikers. That shot I also felt very Akira, and this is before fucking Akira.
That guy is fucked. What is
Yeah,
going
he
on?
looks like he's made of chrome.
I bet those guys are good guys.
It's a shakedown. It's fascinating to me that like from like the 60s to the 90s, the way that Japanese delinquents were portrayed is like almost exactly the same. Like it must have just been such a category of person that existed. I gotta say, I don't know if I can confidently call this like better than Midori, but I definitely think it's a lot more likable. Like, it's still like kind of fucked up and weird and like disturbing, but it's way easier to watch conceptually than Midori is. At least so far. I don't know if it gets way worse. I gotta say, in the world of like symbolic, wavy, trippy anime, this hits me a lot more than that Sunny Boy episode. Because in that, I felt like it was going really high concept and like it was hard for me to like actually trace the emotions of what's happening. In this, it's like the events of the plot are just a guy's getting bullied, but like everything about the way it's presented is like, okay, I get that, you know, like, I get this presentation a lot.
Landon's fine.
To me, this is like much more emotionally clear than Sunny Boy. At least what we saw. The music helps a lot, just the overall sound design. The editing is really unique. Shit. This fucking music is warping my mind. This definitely seems like it would be better to watch on Psychedelic Simidori. That was kind of a miserable experience. This seems like it would be, at the very least, more emotionally moving. That looked cool. So many good shots. This rules. It's just rules. What the hell was that guy? Why can't I have dreams like that? Do I need to get bullied harder to have the fucking
I can believe that.
lesbian sheep flying dreams?
Done.
What the fuck? Alright, well that was 12 minutes. That was amazing.
That was great. We'll probably watch the rest of that.
Landon said Sunny Boy is fucking ass. I watched it one night with my buddy. I was like, what a pretentious, boring, fart-smelling show. Well, that's closer to what my take was than what to most of the others' takes were. I noticed it was also a request for $2 from Asaweeb to watch Hideaki Anno's short Jobun Attire. I don't think I've seen that. So we will. But first we have to watch Murder Drones episode 2. And I have to piss.
Dang, I also have to piss.
Well, I'm going to go first. Oh, this one's shorter. So maybe it will be tighter and more focused, and they will have listened to my advice retroactively through a time portal and cut out over. Murder drones, they're drones and they do murder. 22 million views, holy fucking shit, that's so many views. Y'all ready for some murder drones? They're like robots, but they're cute. Alright, here we go. I think they made this one a little bit louder too. At least I hope so.
We've got to curb her trips to the dump. And where's she getting the hair to play dress up with them? Creepy.
Still not as loud as I would like. Oh, cute glasses made girl.
Move it, moron.
No.
Hi, Tessa.
Glasses girl is so adorable.
Another one.
Uh-oh.
Bird, do a flip. I cannot. How are we doing tonight, Bird? Fine.
I'm doing pretty
good.
fucking fantastic.
I'm watching some good stuff. I'm just annoyed that I told the chat I wasn't going to answer their questions, and now they're asking me questions. Ooh, spooky.
By the way, I'm just gonna warn everybody now that if anyone sends any more requests for shows,
This is probably you,
Bird
weirdo's
will
fault.
definitely
I've never seen
pass
that
out
symbol
before we get to them.
before.
I might be able to stay up.
What'd you find?
We have been up since 4 in the
know
morning.
that was a pilot?
Bird worked a full day
Pilot?
of like
Awesome!
work,
Crashed and
work,
ruined everything.
like actual
Spaceship
normal
pilot.
day
I
job.
Origin
have so
story.
much.
So he will
Speaking
definitely
of piloting
crash
to
out.
Earth, we sure murder all humans is Morality?
The humans sent you without a communication
Hey,
relay
speaking
and
of
reformatted your memories to
nonsense.
soup.
Solving the
Leaf Lady
same
doesn't
Covering their
care.
tracks
Leaf
and
Lady's
past
like, you're gonna
negotiating.
watch this video without Bird. Don't worry about
Tried
it.
negotiating.
Or you missed the negotiations. The humans programmed us to solve a problem. Where's proof of your backstory? The one where your kind's so conveniently innocent.
Jay was getting orders from someone. If not the company through that relay, then, who? And how?
Quit complicating my murder.
She loaded up a little anime anger expression thing. That was cute.
Yeah, just fix her up, cause whoops, pretty big security risk in hindsight. You got this ladder bought 5,000.
Having a hard time hearing her.
Please just leave the lights.
Don't go in there, it's gonna be a bad. It's not gonna be a good. Why doesn't it sound good? It's Taku.
Mr. Doorman, your daughter has been absent.
Yes. On that kill all humans kick, like when I was younger. Grounded herself and all that.
Speaking on her behavior,
Of course. Precocious,
that
popular,
excited.
supernatural understanding of doors. Takes after her old man.
Is it gone?
Uzi, please sit normal.
Bite me!
Uzi, give Brayden back his sentience.
Bite me! Her. I started it, and also I'm dumb.
Uzi, you have to partner up.
Several people wanted to, for the record.
No, he didn't. You freak us out.
But mostly bite me!
Yeah, she has trouble fitting in. We think there might be something damaged with her programming. How is she at home?
Sorry? I mean, she's a little herself, but damaged? I maybe haven't spent much time.
Mr. Doorman, sir, there's been an incident. Oh, I'm sweaty! Who programmed that?
You good, Uzi?
I'm good. Better than good. I am God! Hi, Dad. Thank you.
Of course, N&Ms. You saved my life. I don't think the colony's even serious about all this banishment stuff. More just confused, especially with
The fact I'm too rogue to re-enter society now? I can never return.
the recent disappearances and your murder friend's corpse. When I went to grab your gun, it kind of looked like it crawled away.
I can return a little.
So far, this episode's kind of boring.
Yo, ladder about 5,000. We looked everywhere for you.
Well, Tim, care to join me?
Join you standing eerily still over there in suspiciously low resolution?
Yes?
dad? Is he dead?
Improv game for more practice?
Or did he
We are a monster.
That wasn't the dad, was it? Different doorman. Okay.
Welcome back, Thad. Wait, isn't she grounded or something?
Ugh, vanished! Has my dad been saying I'm grounded?
Genocide robot?
I'm sorry.
Oh, all right. Just don't do it again. Get in here, you
Adorable.
goobs.
Yeah, where's Kong? Because this looks not ideal.
Parent-teacher conference? Something about his daughter being more important than building a door in this hallway. Ugh, I'm gonna cringe.
Ew, yeah, ugh. Oh, give me a minute. Yeah, okay, almost threw up. You're good?
I'm good. Stop asking.
There's no way that that man said his daughter was more important than a door. I don't believe it.
Any forensic things over there? Do we have fingerprints?
Uh-oh. You're done. Huh. I really like that bit with the coffee mug disappearing. Also, she's adorable. Too bad she's dead.
You don't think it's my parenting, do you? I left her for dead once. It sounds like she's bored in your class, and the other kids suck. Call her damage again, and I will install a door on your face!
I'll install it.
Where are your folks?
This episode's picking up.
Мертвые. Я смотрела, как они умирали.
Oh.
That was the joke, idiot.
I like her a lot.
That girl is gorgeous, right? I'm gonna let her in. You guys do that often?
No, I'm very concerned, but also pretty frightened a little bit.
Hey, Z, what's this thing?
Hey, isn't that your special eye?
Don't call it that!
Absolute Solver? Reboot? Does this have something to do with how you grew your head back?
I actively avoid unpacking how that works.
New material can't be pulled from thin air. If the wound is severe enough, this Solver might be some sort of auto-run program to collect more matter.
It's cousin it. That's the hand.
It's gonna be a
right?
spooky robot.
No, that's not the hand. Something else is the hand. It's the robot from Made in Abyss who shoots his hand. Oh shit! That is some shit I would not want to fucking see. Ninja stars? Was that El Kunai? Did he throw a fucking kunai?
Ninja star?
You good?
Stop asking!
Chainsaw hand time?
Yeah, cool.
Chainsaw hands. That's the cutest chainsaw hands around.
Yes, and hello, it's me, Tad. Can I get a location? I heard dentist's office. I'm Thad at the dentist's office. Come over here for your teeth.
Predictably terrible work, Jay. Why do you look so...
Great! You look great, Jay.
No, wait, guys, it's really me. Is that a
Ninja Star.
Lifesavers again. Thanks. Super invited to my shindig next weekend. Cool kids only.
We're busy and anyway, so whatever.
It's
So
GLaDOS.
lame.
What's with the voice, Jay?
Oh, Jay's not here. We are trying to repair that host as per our directive.
So you are a program?
More like you are our cute puppets. It hurts our feelings you don't remember us.
And what's with the mom hologram?
Easier to assimilate than explain.
Not happening.
Fair, but poor choice. Now we will have to do something shocking.
Whoa! Hey!
Goodbye, Dad.
Well.
What?
Paint pride.
Very Resident Evil 4 vibe getting off
Frost
that.
wipe.
Especially with the rockets being
Snarl.
Lucy, you good?
No.
Pranked, idiot. You big stupid. Lucky for you, it's not fun. Time to go into my mouth now. Ow. And please don't. And also, I was using those.
What was... Which parts of that were real?
Sneaky, sneaky. Sneaking away. Get snuck upon. Ow. Ow. Ow, 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 ow.
What are you things?
She said problematic phrasing.
See? What are you doing?
What the fuck is that thing? Looks like a robot cockroach.
Gorgeous, right? I'm gonna let her in. Jesus, sorry, industrial strength ghost or whatever.
Huh.
Settle.
Weird.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know what I can do about it.
I hate your personality normally, but this is somehow worse. What am I being punished for?
I think I can leave the door cracked. Would that be too loud?
You're saying farewells in blue?
Yeah, she's in the closet. She came in here during the thunderstorm.
I see.
I don't want to move her.
I mean, if he wants to come away.
That's right. I think he's just yelling.
that episode picked up a lot. I would say I kind of enjoyed it more than the first one, even though it felt like it had less content, because the first one, was too long, and also, like, the comedy was kind of the weakest element of the first episode. So the fact that this one really pared back on the comedy and kind of just had a few key lines that were pretty funny. It didn't have a bunch of distracting meta humor. And I feel like it played to the strengths of the aesthetic better because, you know, it was more trying to be a horror, like, atmospheric horror series. I think that the fact that it's so cutesy prevents it from really feeling like legitimately scary. It does a good job at like exhibiting how tension works, but you don't really feel actually tense for the characters because it's like a goofy robot show, you know? So it's like a cutesy kind of fun kind of tension, but it has moments where like like when the fucking robot eats the guy, like if it wasn't a robot and a bunch of like oil falling out of it, that would be legitimately really fucking horrifying, you know? Like it's just a somewhat tame version of something that would be really scary. Which makes me think this show would be like an amazing show to see as like a tween, you know? Like you saw a show like this, if personally, because I was always huge into CG animation, if I had seen this show when I was like pretty much any age before like 16, I think it would have blew my fucking mind. I would have thought this was like the coolest shit ever. As it is now, I enjoy it a lot. I think it's aesthetically really pleasing. I love the character designs. But like I said, the tension doesn't really hit me as hard as it would if it was like actually scary, you know? It's entertaining, just not super impactful yet. The closest it comes is like the relationship with the dad, but like nothing in episode 2, none of the repairing of their relationship hits nearly as hard as the damage, the way that the damage was portrayed in the first episode. Like the reconciliation is okay, but not that deep feeling, you know, it didn't feel that earned. Just kind of felt like she was afraid of her situation getting worse and so was drawn back to him, you know. And the part where she's like mean to the guy at the end is obviously setting up for where the story is going to go emotionally. But yeah, I would say it was entertaining, and it was less, like Ellen kind of said, it's less flawed than the first episode but more boring. It felt like less happened, and I felt less engaged with it, but also less, like, turned off by anything that happened. It's like, okay. It felt like they were flexing technical skills, but at the same time, there were less, like, unique shots. Like, the first episode had more, like, flat shots, but it also had more really expressive shots. Episode 2 was all kind of hanging in that kind of middle zone, you know? It definitely picked up as it went. But I don't know if I felt as enthusiastic as I did about the first one, in spite of thinking it was like overall better. That's a weird feeling, right?
She is free.
Was there anything else that was requested before the stream went down? Do you know?
I don't.
I know we had episode 2 of Murder Drones, and then the other Caribou Coon request, and then we took care of that one Gary Always for $1, so I think we were caught up. If not, somebody remind us. Mochi Palm at $30 said, watch All Saints Street till you don't want to anymore, so we're going to do that. I don't know what that is or where I'll find it. Street. I guess, well, this is 39 seconds. Season 1 through Season 4? It starts with episode 3, though. What is this show? I guess it's anime, so we'll just watch it on here. Wow, there's like a lot of this. What? I've never heard of this. What is this? Nini, the adorable little demon, lives in Unit 1031 of All Saints Street apartment with a group of unique flatmates. A vampire, a werewolf. Okay, so it's gonna be like cute boys, and each one's like a different kind of a mythical creature, I guess. This is another one we're going to do small because I'm sure this is a copyright problem. I'm going to reduce the audio a little bit. If you want to watch this with us, the episodes are only 4 minutes long. I'm just going to hit play on episode 1, and I'm going to let it autoplay for like at least 3 episodes. And if I hate it, we'll stop there. But we were paid $30 to watch until we don't want to anymore. So that's like 6 episodes worth at the most. So we'll see what happens. If anybody wants to watch this, go ahead and get it loaded up. Let me know when you're ready. I'm ready. I guess I have to go to at the end of the chat to know if anybody said that they're ready. If anybody's watching this separately from us. Is that the anime Crunchyroll picked up? It does look like it. It's called All Saints Street. All Saints Street. We're on the first episode, and I'm just going to let it autoplay after the first episode until we get sick of it. That's a sick picture behind Bird. Yeah, the one with like Jesus' face and then him on the cross is part of his face. It's a crazy picture. No idea who drew it. I would bet Salvador Dali because that's most of the paintings that my parents have are Dali paintings. Obviously not originals. Alright, let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go. Wait, it didn't work. Alright, I hit it again. Now we're going. Oh, it's Chinese. This shot is great. I love this art style. Wolfman. Oh, this looks sick. Vampire dude. Weirdly is giving me Jujutsu Kaisen vibes with the animation. I really, really love the color choices for this. Like, the whole palette is just... Like, I can't think of anything else I've ever seen with this color palette, but it looks awesome. Enough with the group messages, you motherfuckers. Discord. Yep, exactly. I mute everything. So it's just like a group chat of all the guys who are like capable of saving the world, just like taking it very casually. This is cute. I would literally yell at the other people in the group chat if they were posting that many unnecessary, like, affirmations. This is fucking adorable. This look, also the shot compositions are fantastic. The character designs are fantastic. There's a goat. Fucking Caribou-kun is in this? What is going on? Caribou-kun, you're in this anime. Are you there still? Tell me Caribou-kun is still there. He's literally in this anime. Does he know about this?
Oh, I guess so. I hadn't realized this. Andy Liu wanted us to watch 2 more episodes of that cat show with that $10 super chat.
Oh, okay, we can do that.
Andy Liu, we will watch it. Love you too, buddy.
That guy is so fucking adorable. Amazingly, yes, I tuned back in after the Murder Troves ep. Well, I'm not a goat though. I am a goat though. Oh wow. No, I'm thinking of Goat Jesus who kills goat boys. Probably should have remembered that there was a whole guy whose thing was that he's goats. But he hasn't posted a video in a really long time. He's got $5 from Oh My Guy with some kind of strange. I can't tell what that is. Can you tell what that is it a hang loose symbol? Hell yeah. That was incredibly short, so we'll definitely watch another one. Because I didn't quite. I understood what was happening at the start, and then you kind of changed gears. He's a young demon who left hell to go to the human realm. Okay. So they're all demons? Even the angel? There's the anime Renkin Sankyu Magical Pokemon. Any of y'all who have heard of that? It's like the cute girls version of this, but almost the same concept. Not quite the same concept, I shouldn't say that, but it is like a vampire, a werewolf, a robot girl, and like a demon or something all living together. Bruce Lee, A Warrior's Turn.
What is this show called?
All Saints Street. This is what JoJo John is like.
One's a demon, one's a vampire, one's an angel, one's a werewolf, one's a mummy. Yeah.
The way it does the little bumpers feels very Lucky Star. Kind of reminds me of Raven's room from Teen Titans. The fucking padlock is 666.
I'm still watching, but that chair's starting to leave patterns on my ass.
You're almost visible down there. It's not gonna be possible to both of us at once. Oh, sorry. You need that way. Get him. That was a cool animation. I kind of wasn't expecting. Every time this show like does like a really crazy animated sequence, I'm like most anime would never, most like 5-minute shorts anime that are like about cute boys would never have sequences that good. We'll do at least one more.
这位大娘，北门的菜市场苹果是4块5一斤，超市里的苹果有3块6、4块9、5块9和12块94个档位。根据我的观察，他们的苹果质量介于北门苹果和超市4块9苹果之间，但是你的标价却高达5块5。综合地理位置和市场价格，我认为不太合理。当然，你有权对自己摊位上的货物随意评价，不过这对整个万圣节的市场竞争是不太公平的。希望您可以考虑我建议。
你说了4块，我拿走。
好，我有一个。
你都跟我说这么半天，找茬！
I can see the show, but your big old thighs are covering up.
so this one.
请耐心等待。
Big old thighs.
这位先生，在城市快速路上行驶时不系安全带，驾驶员扣2分，罚款50元。今天的课就上到这儿，大家回家的时候不要在走廊奔跑，坐车的时候不要抢上抢下，不要去人迹罕至的地方，不要随便给陌生人开门，千万要注意人身安全，不要做危险的事情，明白了吗？那我就先飞了，大家明天见。
你做的事情最危险，老师。林老师，您回来了，包给我吧。讲了一天课，一定很累吧？来来来，快坐下，我帮您放松一下。
不，尼尔，真的不要。
在地狱我也经常给我爸爸做，我的技术可好了。
等等，这是还挺好玩的。
林老师放心吧，保证做完以后让你神清气爽。
What the hell is that?
这是什么？这是地狱清洁泥，它能吃掉脸上的灰尘和细菌，不仅能清洁面膜，它的分泌物还能提亮保湿，在地狱超有人气的。
确实还可以。
是吧是吧？艾乐的建议果然有效。
He's so fucking adorable.
清洁吧。
不用了，尼尔。
别客气，林老师，来吧。艾乐，你觉得林老师还生气吗？
看起来应该是没气了。
太好了。林老师。
I did not make that thumbnail. I literally typed anime money into Google and that came up.
大家做一顿饭，结果家里被我弄得乱七八糟。如果你不愿意让我继续住下去，我也理解。希望你能原谅我。
我知道你是无意的，我也从来没有说过要把你赶走。
真的吗？
当然了，我又不是那种得理不饶人的房东。
太好了，太好了！
这间屋子都空了3个月了，再没人租，我就要亏死了。
啊，不过林老师，昨天你是怎么咻的一下把火灭掉的呀？
哦，那是因为天使的光圈可以净化不洁之物，驱除幻觉，日常可以用来打扫什么的，就是用多了会头疼。
好厉害呀！
我可以再给你演示一下。
我，
干干净净。哦，不好意思。
Turn him into a goat.
忘了
Alright, well this show is fucking adorable. It's very soothing. It's a little too relaxed for me to watch when I'm kind of tired, so we're gonna call that one there. And go back to that cat show. We gotta watch 2 more episodes of... how do I spell that shit? Fuck. I don't remember how it was spelled. Do you remember how Bird is passed out? Bird, we gotta watch more cat show. You should come up into... You wanna trade chairs with me? You wanna sit in this chair? Think it'll be easier to sit in than that one? It might not put indent in your ass or whatever. Y'all, I think Bird's done. I don't think Bird can do anymore, so I think it's just gonna be me watching these. Bird will be on the ground sleeping. And I'll be finishing up the requests we've got. Whew, boy. Alright, let me remember. Someone remind me what this cat show is called. Oh, you already did. Luo Xiaohei. Luo Xiaohei. Luo Xiaohei. The Legend of Luo Xiaohei. We were on episode 4, yes. How many episodes are there? Oh my god, there's quite a bit. It's 40 episodes long. Holy shit. How many people worked on this? Like, how long did it take them to make all of this? This rules. This rules so hard. Why is every episode so instantly good of this? Kinda looks like Dragon Pilot now. Oh, I should make this way bigger for y'all. Wait, actually, let me restart this. I forgot that I had... Now that Bird's gone, I can make this, like... really big. I'm gonna restart it for all of you. I forgot I had it small. Sorry about that. Okay, let's restart this because those 20 seconds were fucking incredible. Nope. Back up. Okay, everybody needs to see this shit. This is like those Perry Grip music videos, like Space Unicorn, but even cooler and more delightful. What a fucking sequence. Black Butler just showed up to their house. And they threw him out.
作业本呢？带了。忘了。补充粮食的啦。然后那样吗？啊，忘了。
Good cat. Bird looks so peaceful now. You truly are a cat after all. Oh shit. It's like somebody said the animation didn't go as hard in the last couple episodes and they took it as a challenge. Oh my god, this jam's so fucking hard! It's amazing how few frames an image can be fully readable in. Like, I don't think I've ever seen animation that fast, that clean. I guess the really thick outlines add a lot to that, but it's just so readable. And it looks so good. Just the color palette alone of this scene, like, it doesn't matter how little detail is drawn when the colors just are so right together. Like, that shot, it's tripping me out how little, like, detail there is, but it looks so unique just because, like, that choice of greens. Oh shit. That was a very, like, X-1999 moment. It's not going to start looking bad, I promise you. Oh, I didn't think it would. This kind of strikes me as the type of thing that only exists because somebody wants to draw, like, ridiculously good animation of a cute cat. Like, the way it looks is too tied to its identity for me to think they would even bother if they couldn't make it look that way. occasionally we'll do crossovers. When would you fucking have time? That guy looks cool. Mysterious. Oh my god, the opening sequences are always just the greatest thing I've ever seen. Whoa. It dude gives me like an Inuyasha vibe. So fucking gorgeous. I actually think the artwork is just getting better every episode. Like somehow he's finding another color to add to the palette and just make it that much sweeter. Like that little piece of blue on that one branch in that last shot. What the hell is the little ghost kid? That's fucking adorable. What was the deal with that? Oh, this is very the start of Spirited Away. This is super duper the start of Spirited Away. Like definitely deliberately. Motherfucker was underground.
你们就穿成这样出去旅行啊？
是啊，怎么了？
没什么，我在这住几天吗？
不来。
好吧，人都化这样。
It's tiring for the animator.
路上小心啊！小黑是吧？幸会幸会，我是爷爷。
我是哥哥哟，他不会咬我耶。
真的呀，好难得哟。
小黑很乖的呢。
城里也有那么多老鼠吗？
爷爷，不是抓老鼠的啦。
What is that guy? A Pikachu-ass chipmunk thing?
这是什么？
这是团鼠，现在很少见了。
A Chamakavi? The fuck is that? Is this a real animal at all?
把它关在铁笼里。
团鼠喜欢乱吃东西了。 除了金属和动物，基本上什么都吃。最喜欢吃的是木头，不关起来会把房子吃掉。
怎么可能？它好小啊！
呵。
居然能吃这么多！
昨天好不容易抓到的。
小黑。
He's fucking adorable.
他们是猫和老鼠。
没事的，团鼠比较接近兔子。
pet.
我们可以养它吗？
不好呢，它只能关在笼子里啊。
对呀，它会吃房子。
平时它是挺温顺的。
我的蛋！
哦，好了。
你们要好好相处哦。
要帮忙吗？
走开。
Do you need help? Go away.
传出跑了！
在哪？
丢进洞里了。
速度好快，准备干新房。
小黑。
哇，好长的尾巴。
那也够不到。
Send him down. The thing is so goddamn cute. He beat his ass.
真的抓到！
哈，小黑是他的克星呢。
阿根，搬桌子！来喽！
小黑今天是大功臣啊，多吃点。
Get fucked. Pickles.
爷爷多吃点。怎么变色了？
团鼠的毛会变成刚吃下的东西颜色， 算是保护色吧。
哇，
This cannot be a real creature.
不过也因为这样的特殊皮毛而被捕杀，现在已经很少见了。
啊，怎么这样？
我们小时候身上很多呢。
我们给它起个名字吧。
起了名字会有感情的，会舍不得哦。
不管，要叫你什么好呢？比丢，就叫比丢吧。
如果你养狗，一定会叫汪汪。
What a fucking cute thing.
不用怕哦，因为我也是。
The plot thickens. Well, this is the cutest goddamn show I've ever seen. It put a literal physical smile on my face just now, which I don't feel like a lot of the time just like watching a show does that. But I'm fucking so hyped. It's so goddamn cute. It's so pleasant. It's like I can't find anything to complain about. It looks amazing all the time. All the designs are great. What's not to love? I'm gonna look through the chat, see what y'all are talking about. I went back too far. Is that a bird? Alright, y'all are mostly talking about Chinese anime. Alright, what's the next thing I have to watch? I think we are officially done with everything from before the crash. The last thing I see is, the most old thing I see is Leaf Blades solving the Sailor Venus problem by Mystere Fusion. So we're gonna do that. I think the other supers have, if there's anything else, it has been pushed out. So I'm gonna have to go to the actual supers page to find it, because y'all been chatting a lot about Chinese anime. But yeah, solving the Sailor Venus problem by Mystere Fusion.
Hello, welcome back to my ongoing 20th anniversary celebration of the live-action Green Guardian Sailor Moon. I may be Mercury power made up as Sailor Mercury, but today's installment isn't really about her. I covered most of the other characters last time in this video. Today we're here primarily to talk about Sailor Venus. It's time for an intervention. You see, Sailor Moon has always had a Sailor Venus problem. Or at least that's how I see it. I have no idea if anybody else agrees with me at all, but Sailor Venus was always a character I was so excited to get all the answers to, only to be really disappointed when I seemingly did. As a kid, catching the animated series only occasionally on television, I would see all these references to Sailor V. At the beginning of the series, she's more established and more famous than Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon plays her video game. Sailor Moon finds all of her other friends and recruits them, but Sailor V is already out there doing her own thing. She doesn't need Sailor Moon to get in on the action. And you know how Sailor Moon has Luna? Nobody else has a talking cat. But Sailor Venus has Artemis. I knew she eventually joins the team as Sailor Venus, but I didn't know how. So without ever having seen the whole thing, I could only speculate as to what made Sailor Venus so special, so uniquely positioned compared to the rest of the cast. What role in the story she served to necessitate being so different? And when I finally did see the whole thing, my response was, There's not really anything in the Dark Kingdom storyline that requires Sailor V or Sailor Venus to be bopping around the way she does. Unfortunately, Sailor Venus never really lives up to the hype, becoming a character who just falls in line with the others. How does the original Sailor Guardian end up being the fifth banana? The issue here is that the reason the Sailor Venus within the Sailor Moon series exists as she does has less to do with narrative concerns than it does a consequence of the creative process. And don't get me wrong, I love tracking the creative process, the story outside of the story. But in this case, I feel that story works far better than the story within the story. As any Sailor Moon fan worth their salt will already know, Ayano Minako was written as the original heroine of this fictional universe, predating the first appearance of Tsukino Usagi by about half a year. Here is the story, as I understand it. In August of 1991, Run Run magazine published a story by Takeuchi Naoko.
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. I was about to start ranting. I'm glad I read the chat. First, I need to figure out... Does anybody know this channel's pronouns before I start talking about them? The first 3 minutes of this video, they're basically... like saying, okay, well, when I first saw Sailor Venus, I didn't understand why she was considered so important within the narrative. So as soon as they said that, he and him and they and them are fine, okay. So as soon as they said, like, you know, at first I wasn't sure why Sailor Venus is treated as so important, I immediately thought, okay, well, it's because of the... you know, she was the original hero, and it's a Sailor Moon's kind of a spin-off of Sailor V. But, like, it feels like they're spending, like, all this build-up, like, pretending either, like, they don't know that, or, like, we might not know that, and so this is, like, you know, building up to a grand reveal. But then when we finally get to the grand reveal, they're like, as all Sailor Moon fans know... I'm like, well, okay, so is this not for Sailor Moon fans? Like, you spent 2.5 minutes building up to something that you're saying that we all know, and then you're going to explain it anyways. So at this point, I feel like I'm several minutes into being told something I already know, like, vehemently. You know, like, like, alright, I really, really get it. I really hope you're going somewhere with this. So let's find out where they're going with this.
Salt will already know, Ayano Minako was written as the original heroine of this fictional universe, predating the first appearance of Tsukino Usagi by about half a year. Here is the story, as I understand it. In August of 1991, Run Run magazine published a story by Takeuchi Naoko. It was called Codename wa Seira V, or Codename Sailor V. It was intended to be a one-off, a riff on Takeuchi's love of masked heroes, tokusatsu, sentai, that kind of thing. As the legend goes, Toei Animation came a-calling, wanting to adapt the idea into animation. Takeuchi retooled the concept, now focused on a team of heroes, and launched it as a new series, Bishoujo Senshi Sailor Moon, or Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon. But rather than discarding codename Sailor V as a prototype or pilot, Takeuchi made the bold decision of incorporating its narrative into the new series. The very first thing Sailor Moon tells its audience is that Sailor V is a known hero in this world, establishing Sailor Moon as a sequel to Sailor V. And Minako eventually joins the Sailor Senshi as a fully realized Sailor Venus. Interestingly, Takeuchi would continue codename Sailor V as a series alongside Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, telling more of Minako's early adventures. While not updated nearly as regularly, Sailor V ran all the way until 1997. As soon as Sailor Moon took off, Sailor V wasted no time adding in early bird cameos of several established Sailor Moon characters, hinting at the eventual crossing of their paths, and reframing codename Sailor V as a prequel to Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon. It's a pretty interesting idea, a very creative way of reorganizing earlier drafts into the story. It's kind of like how Star Trek recycled its unaired pilot into an extended flashback in the series proper, turning its standalone adventure into Spock's backstory and passing off the inconsistencies between productions as, that was like 12 years ago, of course things look different. I was too busy looking for narrative reasons as to why Sailor V exists, but the fact of the matter is, she's only here to tie the two series together. The unfortunate casualty of all this, though...
Just to explain what the hell I was doing just now, the boy cat of the house is trying to find the girl cat and cannot, and has been searching all over. And she had been in the closet, or at least Bird said that she wouldn't come out of the closet. And he was just looking all over for her. So he finally came in here, but we looked in the closet, she wasn't there. I'm guessing she left at some point. So, yeah, it's adorable. He's really fucking trying to find her. He's like, where's my goddamn girlfriend? Anyway, she got scared by the thunder, by the way, is why she's hiding, I think.
Is Minako, who gets demoted from the main character of her own series to simply a member of the ensemble in the far more popular Sailor Moon. Codename Sailor V is little more than a footnote in the history of the franchise. Sailor V herself ultimately ended up being cast as the John the Baptist to Sailor Moon's Jesus Christ. Interesting in her own heyday, but ultimately just a messenger for a much more important character. That's disappointing, sure, but the main issue is that while Sailor V's story was retooled so as to not just be a prototype for Sailor Moon, it still very much is. Both series feature a teenage protagonist who is ditzy, lazy, sleepy, and regularly late for school. Both feature magical talking cats who have to nag and prod the heroine to do her damn job. Both heroines have a normie best friend as well as a swirly bespectacled nerd friend with nearly identical names and even more identical appearances. Therein lies the source of the Sailor Venus problem. Sailor Moon and Sailor V are the same character. So when you put them both into the same series, Sailor Venus becomes redundant. Heck, so does Artemis, as he's essentially Boy Luna. I'm surprised this image of Amano and Umino together didn't cause the universe to explode in a puff of divide by zero anti-logic. In the immortal words of the sages Rogers and Hammerstein, how do you solve a problem like Minako? How do you set Minako apart when she is basically the proto-Usagi and enters into the Dark Kingdom story far too late to make an impression? The manga tries to remedy this by casting Sailor Venus as the decoy princess and putting her in a role of authority over the other guardians in their previous life. Granted, that's setting her up primarily as a red herring to be supplanted by Sailor Moon, which is still kinda sad, but at least it's a logical role for her to fill. To my dying day, I'll never understand this, but the anime strips out the decoy princess thing entirely. Are you the princess we're looking for? Teehee, no. And that leaves her with basically no role at all. It's such a shock given that typically I find the animated series handles characterization far better than the manga does. At least the two manga series eventually tie together to explain where Minako comes from, but the animated Sailor Moon doesn't even have that. Minako gets a single episode in this story arc digging into her backstory. And that's nice and all, but it just raises more questions than it answers. Rather than explaining how Minako and Artemis meet or why Sailor V needs to start her mission before Sailor Moon, it instead puts her in London working with an Interpol agent. Well, now I'm just more confused. Why is the Dark Kingdom screwing around in London? How does a 13-year-old schoolgirl traipse off to London without anybody noticing? If this was part of her mission, how does Artemis not know anything about it? Later arcs take her in an entirely different direction from this seasoned independent warrior, making her a wonderfully klutzy, well-meaning Miss Malaprop more in line with her codename Sailor V counterpart. And don't get me wrong, seeing Minako's misadventures as a well-meaning but hopelessly clumsy nurse is one of the highlights of Sailor Moon R. My point here, and I know it's taken me a very long time to get to it, is that Sailor Venus has a long, weird history, and it's no surprise to me that the live-action series decided to just take her all the way back to the drawing board. PGSM has the luxury of hindsight, and so is able to create a Sailor Venus wholly distinct from Sailor Moon, whose pre-Sailor Moon adventures fully tie into the story the series is trying to tell. There is absolutely nothing redundant about this Minako, absolutely nothing the story has to work around in order to integrate her. To those familiar with the manga, the path to get here should at least be recognizable, but if you only know Venus from the 90s animated series, she's essentially a completely different character. And I know that throws a lot of people. While all the Sailor Guardians have been retooled to a certain extent, they're all still variations on the same core concepts. If you disagree with me that there has ever been a Sailor Venus problem, if Minako is your favorite, then tuning into this series and seeing your beloved, charmingly clumsy bubblehead reimagined as a brooding, manipulative misanthrope has to be a shock to your system. But as different as it is, I think it was the right direction to take her. And that, finally, brings us to Ai no Minako, Sailor Venus. Minako still starts off as Sailor V. In fact, we're introduced to her.
I get a feeling that I would have liked this video to have started right here. So let's just pretend that this video started right here.
Her in the very first scene of the show. But while this Usagi definitely idolizes her, it's less because she's Sailor V, and more because Ai no Minako is a famous pop idol. Yeah, that's the first big difference. She is not your average schoolgirl. She is a celebrity. And in true Sailor Moon fashion, she doesn't exactly take the most stringent steps to keep her magical girl identity a secret. Her most recent album is literally named Venus, and her hit song, which plays constantly in this show, so it's a good thing it's so catchy, is called C'est la vie. C'est la vie. Sailor V. Get it? This change is significant because it means that Minako isn't really friends with the others. She lives in a completely different world. It's also significant.
I get the feeling this guy is used to dealing with people who have a really hard time understanding things. Like he's used to really having to tell somebody the same thing 4 times before they get it.
Again, because it gives the show an excuse to cross-market lots and lots of pop songs. But yeah, for the most part, the opening sequence is a lie. It's not a show about 5 friends hanging out together. It's 4 friends, and then there's Sailor Venus, who shows up when needed and then promptly disappears, taking care to never get too friendly with the others. I guess that's why Sailor Luna exists, so that Sailor Venus can truly be the series' 6th Ranger. I think I can count on one hand the number of times all 5 of the original leads are in costume fighting evil together at the same time. Minako never enters the gang's hideout until the 44th episode. I know that rubs a lot of Sailor Moon fans the wrong way, but I think it's a brilliant idea. Minako is no longer the proto-Usagi. You're never going to confuse the two of them. It sets her apart, which she logically should be. She has far more experience than the others. She's used to working alone, and in the role of the decoy princess, she should be keeping her distance from Sailor Moon. She wouldn't just automatically fall in with the rest of them. It also gives her more of a focus. She doesn't fall prey to being properly introduced far later in the series than the other characters. She and Artemis exist parallel to the rest of them. Minako has her own stories, her own needs, long before she starts becoming more involved with the other sailors'
That dude
lives.
looks like Gact.
Even when she does, she keeps her true identity a secret from them. At first, that's explained away by her role as the princess, but even after the truth comes out that Sailor Moon is the actual Moon Princess, gee, imagine that, Venus still keeps her distance. This Minako takes her duties extraordinarily seriously. So when she does interact with the others, it's usually to order them around or criticize them for not being at her level. She's not exactly impressed with her counterparts, particularly Usagi, who's
So, like,
concerned with Minako's celebrity.
my takeaway from this, right, is like the live action show's good, and it did Sailor Venus better. That's the point, right? The live action show was a better Sailor Venus. The show looks probably alright. I didn't really like Sailor Moon that much, so like if the live action series is better, maybe I'd like it more. I don't know. Gak is beautiful. You know, I've never actually spent a lot of time really looking at Gak. I know him better for all the weird, like, animated versions of him. Like the Gakupoid or that guy he played in Shiki. I like Buck Tick more than Gak, musically anyway.
But let me rant for just a second.
You've been ranting.
I bet you're wondering why she's dying, and you're hoping I'll tell you. Well, the truth is, I have no clue either. Despite this being one of the most important, most dramatic plot threads in the entire series, the show never says what she's dying of. And I think that's ridiculous. She has the occasional dizzy spell, she's in and out of the hospital, she goes into an MRI.
I gotta say, regardless whatever gender identity Mystere has, auntie energy. Big time auntie energy coming off of this person.
Vibrant and active and beautiful throughout the series, while dying in some wholly abstract way. And look, I get this is a show for children. I'm not expecting Dr. House and his team to come in and work a differential diagnosis. But even Batman and Robin's writers gave their made-up Alfred-killing disease a name. That's really all you need. Just the tiniest bit of specificity to sell this. The more they focus on it, the more the vague dialogue starts to feel like a parody. As if two kids are playing doctor and coming up with ideas for drama on the fly. I only have 6 months to live. Oh no, what can you do? Well, I can have the surgery, but there's practically a 0% chance it will work. Oh no!
What the fuck is going on? When did this turn into a skit?
Just give your made-up disease a name. Okay, I'm done. Now, let me explain.
Nostalgia Critic had a really unfortunate influence on the internet, I must say.
What I love most about this version of Minako is that she explores something I was always annoyed was never really addressed in either the manga or anime. The fact that the Guardians are inheriting powers and waging a conflict from their past lives should be extraordinarily momentous to learn, if not traumatizing. I've already talked about this in regards to Princess Sailor Moon, but the live-action series has heroes and villains alike struggling with questions of free will versus destiny. While most of them have their own positions and roles to play, that conversation is largely driven by Minako. As is common with someone facing mortality, Minako struggles to find meaning in her life. Becoming Sailor Venus gives her a sense of purpose. It makes everything make sense. Embracing her destiny is comforting because it means that her life has a plan. She is fated to carry out her mission just as she is fated to die. C'est la vie. Get it? That's why she takes her role so seriously. Her entire identity is built atop this philosophy. However, this eventually becomes an obsession, to the exclusion of everything else. She wants to give up on her music. She wants to discard Ai no Minako entirely. It all feels frivolous and fleeting compared to what she feels she has to accomplish in her remaining time. As I joked, there's even an extremely risky surgery that might cure her, but she refuses to go through with it. She's not willing to risk Sailor Venus's mission for Ai no Minako's life. As she says, Minako could die tomorrow, but Sailor Venus will live forever. But it's not just that. She's scared. Focusing on her mission, on her destiny, keeps her from having to confront her mortality, ever having to gamble on that nearly 0% outcome. If this is all preordained, if this is all...
Nah, this show seems kind of cheats. I don't think I could sit through this actual show.
Begins to worry that she's throwing her own life away. And Minako's response to that is
they're
to push
hot,
him away for not taking their mission seriously enough. This is where we finally pull that pin on Sailor
The melodramatic acting is a bit much. Just even without audio.
Their own ongoing subplot, which
I have to imagine that with audio it's kind of overwhelming.
Rei resents this mostly absent princess trying to tell her what to do. She sets out on her own quest to track Venus down and figure out her deal. Minako, in turn, resents this invasion into her privacy and responds by tricking Rei into uncomfortable situations. The fact of the matter is, they're very similar people. They're both independent and stubborn and prefer to work alone. And while Minako is harder on Rei than anybody else, it's obvious that it's because she sees potential in her. Venus tells Mars that Mars is the leader of the Sailor Guardians and encourages her to take on that role. When Venus is disguised as the princess is shattered and it's revealed that Venus is actually the leader, Rei is understandably upset at being manipulated. I have seen some viewers assert that Minako is simply screwing with her. The show never explicitly states this, but the motivation seems pretty obvious to me. Minako is grooming Rei to take her place after she's gone. The two are often at odds, but they come to respect each other and even like each other. Rei engages in her own schemes to incorporate Minako into their friend group, which is especially interesting given that Rei is originally cast as the one not wanting to be friends with anybody. Eventually, Minako confides in Rei about her impending death. As her illness progresses, Minako hopes that Rei will help pick up the slack for her. However, the problem with spending so much...
I just realized that there are still like 15 minutes left in this video. Leaf Blady, are you still there? Did you have 2 requests for me? Because I thought I remembered you having 2 super chats. And if there were, the other one disappeared. You did. What was the other one? This video is a little bit difficult to watch. I will finish it. But I have not seen the Sailor Moon live action show, so as he really gets into like the nitty gritty of the plot and like character interactions, I'm just like, I don't really care. Like, why? I don't have any strong feelings or opinions about Sailor Moon or Sailor Venus, so I don't have like a counter argument or anything like that. Ripened Disease, that's mean. Leaf Blady brought us that awesome Madoka video the other day, which actually was good. I mean, I'm not even saying this video is not good. I just personally don't care about Sailor Venus or like which version of her is the better representation or which, you know, characterization is deeper or what makes her characterization deep in the show. It feels like sometimes I watch videos that feel like they are just describing the evident subtext of a show, where like with any given show, you've got the text, what is literally being said or shown, the subtext, what is being suggested by what is said or shown, and then there's like the deeper level of the themes, right? Like what all of it kind of means underneath. And for me as a writer, I tend to just talk about the themes. I really kind of skip over. I might use the subtext to justify what I'm saying. Like the subtext is my examples. But like, I really try not to get all the way to the level of like describing the actual text of the story, because I count on either you've seen it or you don't care. Like one or the other. You either have seen it already and so you know what happens, or you haven't seen it and so you don't care about the details of the plot. You just want to know what's the underlying theme, you know? The real relation, the underlying theme. Living in the limelight, the universal dream, for those who wish to seem, for those who wish to be, must put aside the alienation, get on with the fascination. The real relation, the underlying theme. Anyway, that's Limelight by Rush. Sending the cue to me on Discord. Yes, you can keep track of the queue. That would definitely be helpful. I should just start writing it down. Next time I do this, I'm just going to write it physically down. But yeah, like, I could see enjoying that video if you care about those characters, if you care about those shows, if you've seen both Sailor Moon and the live action Sailor Moon, like, the other one Leaf Lady asked for. We'll watch the other one and then we'll come back to this. I'm more curious about, I mean, just by title alone, New God, New Devil, New World, Dragon Ball Dissection sounds a lot more interesting. So let's go ahead and put that one in. And it's also shorter. What the fuck is going on here? My computer is like having an aneurysm trying to fucking play regular videos. I like this music. I like this weird aesthetic for this opening. This is interesting. I'm guessing this is part of a series. This is a really fascinating way to start a video. I love the music. It kind of feels like I'm on the start screen of Dot Hack, like one of the Dot Hack video games. Alright, the queue's in the Discord. How much is left? The queue is really long? Oh, jeez.
Welcome back to Dragon Ball Dissection, your one-stop shop for all Dragon Ball Wait a second. Roll that back. Part 14, is that what that said?
Okay, we got Mumkeys, reviews. This video we're watching now, Salad Fingers, that's right, and the Jabuna Tree. And then the Sailor Moon video, okay.
When the Frieza arc took the record 2 years ago, it blew through the previous record by 5 whole episodes. Wonder how far past the record this will get, because, as you may have guessed, we're certainly not finishing up in this episode. Anyway, on with the show. Our story today opens on a sight for sore eyes, relaxation. Depending on how you want to define it, this might be the first time we've seen the characters relaxing in the manga since... well, let's see here. I honestly think it's the first time since the half the characters' invitations got lost in the mail Kame House reunion right before Raditz shows up, which...
Wait, is this the same dude who did that video about how Goku's not really like a good guy? And then we ended up watching that Jax Blade video in the middle of it also?
It's good to see picnicking, family bonding, driving through deserted
I like the way he tackles this
freaking out
series.
about Gohan being a Super Saiyan. Now, this is probably something most of you know, but Chi-Chi's aversion to Super Saiyan, while seemingly tied into her prioritizing of studying over fighting, is actually a reflection of a different cultural idea. Japan is a very homogenized society, both in terms of behavioral expectations and physiology. I'm certainly not saying that all Japanese people look alike, but let's just say animation's tendency to give its characters a wide variety of wild hair colors is not exactly true to life. Dyeing one's hair blonde, especially at the time this came out, was seen as delinquent. So with that context in mind, it's somewhat understandable that Chi-Chi, strict practitioner of the status quo, would think her innocent little son now looks like a punk. Explaining the joke! It always makes things funnier. Despite being able to fly, despite having Kinton, despite being chauffeured around for most of the early parts of the series, apparently Goku learned how to drive at some point. Hey, good for him! I wonder when he managed to do that. And in a
Y'all saying he sounds like Explanation Point and Nate. Yeah, it's like Explanation Point's voice with Nate's inflection.
One person out there who thinks something is relevant when it's not, and has this compulsive need to remind me. I know you're listening right now. Get your hands off the keyboard now. And it's an overrated episode anyway. While they're inexplicably driving, the radio alerts the Son family to the fact that the military is about to launch an assault on Cell. It doesn't end well. But the worst part is that it takes Goku away from his family once again because he realizes that in this kind of situation, they need Dragon Balls. What he apparently doesn't realize is that he promised to fight in Cell's tournament only if Cell promised not to kill anyone in the days leading up to it. I guess there's some kind of loophole for self-defense? If so, that's a very, very broad definition. Of course, that was obviously an empty threat. I mean, what's Goku gonna do? Not fight in the tournament and allow Cell to kill everybody? After confirming with Piccolo that his assimilation of God has indeed deactivated the Dragon Balls, Goku attempts to seek out the Namekians with his teleportation. They really should have left a forwarding address. So instead, Goku teleports to Kaio's world. And hey, it's actually very smart of the series to set up in advance that Goku can, in fact, teleport into the afterlife. Apparently the Namekians didn't leave a forwarding address in Kaio's galactic directory either, because he has to seek them out using his antenna. The interesting thing here is that many people seem to consider the Cell arc to be the most humorless story in Dragon Ball's run, and I suppose it's fair to say that up until now, the laughs have been pretty sparse. Off the top of my head, all I can think of is Goku smacking Chi-Chi through their house, and Chi-Chi smacking Krillin with the door. The artificial human stealing the van is pretty funny. But anyway, it almost seems like Toriyama noticed.
I'm sorry, hearing a American accent say Krillin like stopped my brain in its tracks for a second.
I find these gags to be somewhat underappreciated. That is, I don't think I've ever seen anyone mention them before. I don't think I've ever mentioned them myself.
He's doing them all Japanese pronunciations. It is Goku. It's two U's at the end. It's like a double U sound.
That's pretty cute. But even before that is one of those jokes that reminds me of how skillful Toriyama is in this medium. It has Goku chastise Kaio for not knowing the situation, then it cuts to a wide two-shot of Goku beginning to explain, with his text bubble ending in ellipses, followed by a close-up panel of Kaio exclaiming, "What?" Only to have Goku remark that he hasn't said anything yet. As a reader, you expect the wide panel to be a literary device to skip past the exposition we already know, when it's actually meant to be taken literally. To me, that's right up there with Goku and Yamcha straight up breaking the fourth wall, and like with that gag, it just doesn't work in animation. Explaining the joke! It always makes things funnier. This sudden shift in tone to more Toriyama-esque humor could actually be related to another
Nostalgia Critic had an unfortunate effect on the internet.
Kondo Yu had been Toriyama's editor since fairly early in the Saiyan arc, and we've seen his influence in the development of Cell. But around the time Cell achieved perfection, Kondo stepped down and was replaced by Takeda Fuyuto, the third and final editor overseeing Toriyama during Dragon Ball. Given all we've covered so far, the Cell arc appears to be the one story arc in Dragon Ball where all three of his editors were known to play some hand in shaping the story. There is actually very little I know about Takeda's specific influence on the series. However, if Torishima was the strict editor and Kondo was the increase the popularity editor, Toriyama has described Takeda as a more lenient editor. Since this direction towards more humorous stories continues on through the rest of the series, and it just happens to coincide with this editorial change, I'd wager it's not a coincidence. Anyway, Goku finds New Namek, and like I said in my Movie 6 review, it really does not resemble that story's version of the planet at all. And yada yada yada, it's Dende. Would you really expect it to be anyone else? He's going to come back with Goku and provide them with new Dragon Balls. Not only that, he's going to become the god of the planet. I'm sorry to have to say it, no I'm not, but this is stupid. Not Goku going to find new Dragon Balls, that's all good. Bringing Dende back to do so? Also no complaints from me. Making him god? That's ridiculous and entirely unrelated to the reason they're bringing him there. To be fair, Toriyama has never really gone to the effort of pinpointing what exactly a god's role is in this series, which served as something of a detriment to the arcs where God played a major role. But two things we do know are atypical of the job are being a green slug man and creating Dragon Balls. Those just happen to be the two most defining features of the last guy who held the job, but they have nothing to do with the job itself. It would be like if your boss just happened to be really good at ping pong. It's something you and your fellow employees enjoyed watching him do in your downtime. He'd compete in tournaments, his office was adorned with ping pong trophies, and when he retired and the company had to replace him, they didn't ask the applicants any questions about their management experience or their familiarity with the product you sell. They just hired the best ping pong player. Dende does not have to be God in order to make Dragon Balls. He has no qualifications to be a god. He's just a kid. In fact...
Okay. I'm not really particularly... I don't feel like I know Dragon Ball or this part of the story well enough to, like, counter-argue what he's saying or agree or disagree with it about whether this is a good storytelling bit. It's more... This series, from what parts I've seen of it, is very close to being something I would be really interested in, but it has something extra, which is like, it's a review. It didn't need to be a review. Like, it's called Dragon Ball Dissection, right? So, like, what I'd be interested in is, as he goes through, like the beginning part where he was talking about the blonde hair thing, right? Like, I already would have gotten that, you know, just like if I read that chapter of the manga, I would have understood that cultural bit. But I think that there is a value in pointing that kind of stuff out. Like, going through the manga bit by bit and just explaining, like, the cultural references, the stuff that people wouldn't get. Literally, like, explaining, like, if somebody's making reference to something that happened earlier in the story, explaining that, you know? Explaining what it's referencing, like, in the imagery, like, what are the influences on display, like, that aspect of the video I find really interesting. When he's making personal value judgments about the story is less interesting to me, because I just take it for granted that Dragon Ball Z is good. I don't care about in what ways the story is, like, mechanically broken, because if you really approach any story that way, you can find the breaking points. You know, like, the way I write, I kind of make fun of it in a way. Like Kusomega is a story that just abjectly doesn't make sense. In no way does it make any sense. There's no attempt to make any sense. It only makes sense on an emotional level. It's purely what the characters are going through, what they experience. That's the only thing that matters, because the details of the story are so bizarre that there's no way you could even know what to anticipate. You know, you just read it and you're just constantly like, okay, I guess that's all right. I guess that's what happened, you know? And it's surprising when there's something meaningful that comes out of that, you know, when, like, you still feel something, because I'm using the essential elements of what makes a story work and just foregoing all of the technical details of, like, trying to make it, quote unquote, make sense, because none of that shit really matters. And it never has. It's never mattered to good storytelling that it makes sense. It has only mattered that it is a good story. So when you go into Dragon Ball Z, which is as close to objectively good as a manga could be, like, because if we're thinking about what makes, you know, I don't believe in there being, like, a standard that nobody agrees on any standard. So the closest thing we can get to objectivity is consensus. Is the most people agree this thing is good. Well, more people agree Dragon Ball Z is good than any other manga. So I just can't see much of a point in arguing about what's wrong with it. Like, as a casual reader of it, you can probably identify that it's flawed. But that isn't worth focusing on. Like, that's not the interesting part of Dragon Ball Z, is that it's flawed. The interesting part is that it's so fucking good. So, to me, when you come into the story and you're talking about the flaws, I'm like, yeah, but none of that has impacted it. Like, you know, and especially to act like, kind of, I don't know, maybe acting like maybe people didn't notice this. It's like, I'm sure plenty of people have thought about all these issues, but ultimately you come out of it, and this guy obviously himself comes out of it feeling like, oh, I still love Dragon Ball Z. Obviously he loves Dragon Ball Z. For me, it kind of feels like, well, if you love it so much, what is the point of breaking down, you know, like, every single thing it does wrong in your eyes, as opposed to trying to figure out, like, what was the positive? I don't know. I feel like people are, the approach that I think is taken by most writers to writing a story, and the approach that people take to reviewing a story like this is too different. Like, when you're writing a story, it's not about like planning it out perfectly and then like following that plan. It's like figuring out what works with what you've done so far. And sometimes that can like break down a little bit, where people have accused Dragon Ball of like he literally forgot about characters. You know, he just forgot what he had written already. So there are parts where it contradicts what's happened before, but it never contradicts it emotionally enough to break the story. You know, like you still understand who the characters are. You still understand what the story's about. It's never like... It's never incomprehensible, you know? Like, you have to be looking for flaws in it to find the flaws. You have to be, like, actively, like, oh, this thing, you know, this thing bothers me, and I'm going to drill into why. As opposed to the natural experience of just kind of either enjoying yourself or, more likely, you know, if you don't, not watching the show. You know, like... It's unrealistic to me to think that somebody gets this far into Dragon Ball Z and is like concerned over this kind of stuff unless they're like going through and trying to actively make value judgments about the whole thing. You know, like it feels like the mission is go through this manga and figure out what works and what doesn't work. And I think that the better approach would have been to be figure out why it works. Don't even question the stuff that doesn't work. You can pay homage, like you can nod to, you can acknowledge it. You don't have to pretend that the story is perfect. But like, you know, just fixating so much on like a plot beat that you think doesn't work, I don't know, it doesn't make me like reconsider the quality of Dragon Ball Z. It doesn't make me think, oh, I guess Dragon Ball Z is worse than I thought because like Dende shouldn't have been a god, or I don't know, maybe that's not what he's trying to say. Maybe this is more... Maybe it only feels that way for me because I am not somebody who's had this depth of conversations about the story, where, like, maybe if you're kind of taking it for granted that it's good, you feel more inclined to talk about what you see as the flaws. But for me, as, like, an onlooker who's kind of just interested in learning about... Like, I could see watching a series like this that just goes through every single chapter of a classic manga and just explains what was significant about it. You know, like, what was it referencing? What did it affect? What has referenced it? What was it trying to say? You know? But without it being, like, your personal value judgment of every single thing that happens. Anyway, I'm going to continue this video. Maybe it will pull up and I will... Again, I liked parts of this, but it's just as the deeper he's gotten into this Dende argument, the less I've cared about what he's saying about it. And partly because, again, I don't really have an opinion on whether this is good or bad myself.
I call him perhaps one of the least qualified people possible to hold this job, because I would think to be a god of a planet, it would be necessary to actually be from that planet. And yes, the previous guy counts, as does Goku, as they both spent the entirety of their known lives there. Remember how the previous set of tryouts was so rigorous that the last guy had to literally split himself into two people just to be a good enough person to be considered worthy? But this time, oh, you make Dragon Balls? You're God now. It's just such a lazy way to reestablish the status quo. You could do anything with Dende, and you're just gonna stick him up there for no other reason than that fits what we're all used to, and it's the easiest way to give Dende some kind of function. Oh well, I guess that's what the old god deserves for not taking the multiple opportunities he was given to pick a successor. He has no one to blame but himself that this important and sacred right is left in the hands of a person who thought a bride was some kind of food. Anyway, Dende becomes god. He reactivates the Shenlong statue and is going to upgrade him to be able to grant 3 wishes, but then tells them it can only be 2 wishes if they insist on this whole resurrecting large groups of people nonsense. They take the trade, and Goku goes off to find the Dragon Balls. Let's step back for a second. I've been creating Dragon Ball Dissection for 7 years now, and from the beginning, something that has really gotten under a lot of people's skin
That's
is how
fucking
I render
dedication.
This character's name. It is nice to know that over the years I have been vindicated by multiple sources, by official sources, and even by Toriyama himself.
Oh my god,
But
this is
given all the
adorable.
various English translations
We were
and
just making
interpretations,
fun
both
of how he
official
says
and
the names,
unofficial,
and now he's
my
full on
choices will
defending it. I
always
love
make me an
this.
outlier to somebody. And it's okay not to agree. It's just something that I as a creator and fan and you as viewers of my content have learned to live with. So on a completely unrelated note, the television announces to the Kamehouse gang that fighting in the Cell games will be the combat sports champion Mr. Satan. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. Because that's how it's written.
You absolute bastard.
Now, as those of you who've been weirded out by Bluma know, I have no problem gently nudging a name in the right direction if it's limited by Japanese phonemes, but this isn't a case of that. They very clearly have an equivalent of the A sound. It's not a case of a regional dialectical variation to the same sound, and it's not even a case of Toriyama screwing up an English word because what we call Satan is not an English word.
There's a voice in my head just screaming,
and in Hebrew it's pronounced, you guessed it, Satan.
At me though, not at him. At me for having opinions about
this. You
this.
saw this character, you were surprised her name wasn't Sailor Uranus. I know it was the first time I was exposed to the pronunciation Uranus, but most likely, like me, you just shrugged and accepted it, even if you didn't know why.
Mr. Satan was a Brazilian moment of paranoia for a while. That's hilarious. We just changed his name to Hercule here in the United States.
By that metric, even if everyone else in the world with that name pronounces it a different way. Now, I'm not saying I would balk at an adaptation that calls him Mr. Satan. In fact, I would expect it to. It's certainly better than the alternatives. As you've seen, for this show, I will adapt the micro band to micro band, translate number-based names so that Ju Hachigo becomes number 18, and translate the suffix jin into its American personifying equivalent. But after having spent nearly 20 years seeing his name
I didn't realize I was watching a Zidnaf video.
And almost literally hearing nothing except
Mr. Satan? Mr. Satan?
changing that to Satan is just too extreme a change for me to be able to make. That Toriyama introduced Mr. Satan in the same chapter as all of his
I get it
Goku
though.
Kaio banter,
I do understand that. Like, I never watched Dragon Ball Z in Japanese with the dub. Like, if I was used to hearing Satan all the time, yeah, I'd probably want to say it that way. Like, growing up, I said Ranma 1/2 until I watched the show, and it's like, no, it's Ranma. What are you talking about? That character is Ranma Saotome, you know?
Now, I'd like to think that the idea of people forgetting was more of a figurative statement, but it's hard not to believe that Toriyama means it literally. Dragon Ball was away from Earth for a very long time, and it's always felt to me as if, when the characters came home from planet Namek, they came back to a different world entirely. Dragon Ball's world prior to now had always existed according to its own rules. It was a fantasy world infused with futuristic technology. The superhuman feats of the characters were treated as shocking, sure, but never impossible. They were simply the kinds of amazing things you could expect from master martial artists. General Blue in particular had been shocked that these kids could take out as men, but then he saw that they were martial artists, and that mystery was solved, no further questions needed. The idea of people zipping around on magical clouds as a common occurrence was a sight still recent enough to be contained in living memory. The populace was diverse, filled with talking animals, human animals, and sentient monsters. All of that seems like a far cry from the world Dragon Ball returns to after the Frieza arc, culminating in this con man managing to so utterly delude the entire population, who've apparently forgotten all of this stuff in a matter of years. It's a fascinatingly cynical take on the Dragon Ball setting, creating the idea of the population rejecting its real heroes while fawning over a fraud. But it's also a much more mundane world, with really only the technology setting it apart from our world. And today, a lot of that technology is looking dated. Even Toriyama's drawing here of the Earth features our real-world land masses. It almost feels like it doesn't make sense anymore for people like Yamcha, Kuririn, Tenshinhan, and Chaozu to even exist here. You have to be some kind of alien to have superhuman strength. And that's probably the genesis of that stupid idea about Tenshinhan having alien ancestry.
Okay, so I've thought about this. I saw Dragon Ball Z first, before Dragon Ball. And the impression I sort of got is that Dragon Ball Z just is more so set in the cities. Like, Dragon Ball starts off with Goku literally in the middle of fucking nowhere. He lives so far from civilization that he's never even encountered a woman before. And the only reason that Bulma finds herself out there is that she's looking for the Dragon Balls, which are scattered out to the, she's fucking Lara Croft, basically. And so, like, you know, the two of them are basically traveling inward toward civilization from the absolute fringes of the world, you know? So, like, when they finally settle down and they get married and they have children, they raise them in the city. And, like, the first couple arcs of Dragon Ball Z, I mean, at first they're raising Gohan seemingly in the middle of fucking nowhere. You know, they just have, like, a house in the Badlands or something. When, like, Raditz shows up. And that whole arc never really has a regular society. It's just like they're fighting Saiyans. And then they go to the planet Namek. So, like, it's not really until the Cell Saga that you really are spending time on Earth. And it's all in town. It's like... And the reason it's like that is because in this arc, you know, Gohan grows up. We are in the Cell... Yeah, we're in the Cell arc. And this arc is where, well, no, he doesn't grow up until right before the Buu arc, right? I just think this arc, like, establishes, like, them moving into society. Like, it becomes about the population centers of the world. It's just not, it's no longer an adventure in the middle of the desert, you know? We actually see animal people in the city in Dragon Ball. Well, he probably forgot then. Let's be real. That was just kind of I guess because I saw them out of order, though, and I've still never seen all of Dragon Ball. I've seen pretty much all of DBZ. I've only seen, like, probably, like, the first half, if that, of Dragon Ball. So, you know, but, like, just the impression I've had, because, you know, again, I would have seen the Cell Saga by the time I started seeing Dragon Ball, was like, oh, like, they used to be out in the wilds, you know? Like, they used to be out on this crazy adventure. Like, it's sort of based on Journey to the West, right? So it's kind of like they made it to the West. They're in civilization now. At least that was the way I felt about it. I've got another super chat. I will read that and we'll watch whatever you requested. Oh, it's the third episode of Murder. What's it called? Murder Drones. I keep wanting to call it Murder Dolls. That's like a band, though. A band I've never even, like, listened to, I don't think. Yeah, we'll do that after we finish the rest of the queue. We've got quite a queue.
And a little Chinese vampire and noseless guy fit perfectly into the crazy original Dragon Ball world, but have a harder time fitting into regular, mundane, average people world. And I get the feeling that Toriyama had spent so much time drawing odd-looking creatures as aliens to fill out Frieza's ranks, that he forgot that he was creating people with similar designs back on Earth. Because aside from established characters, none of whom exist outside of cameos at this point, animal people just don't exist anymore. Of course, I say this in the same chapter the long-ignored Nation King makes a cameo appearance, and funnily enough, he's one of the few non-regulars at this point.
I want to say also about the whole Toriyama forgetting thing. I know I also invoked that idea a minute ago, but I sincerely doubt that as many of the changes have to do with him literally forgetting what he had done as just, like, wanting to do something different. Like, just not wanting to do that. And, like, there's a lot of... The way that Japanese authors tend to talk about themselves, they are very self-deprecating. But also in a way that kind of maintains mystery. It's like a magician never reveals their tricks kind of energy. Like, they just kind of try to say, like, yeah, I guess if people don't like a change they made, it's like, I guess I'm an idiot. You know, like, I guess I just am dumb. That's the best you could do. Like, because the change is already made. You can't, like, go back. You can't be like, oh, well, I thought it was going to have this effect, and actually it had the wrong effect. You just got to be like, whoops, you know? So I think it's more likely to me that, because he was saying, you know, Toriyama maybe was drawing so many aliens in the Frieza arc, he forgot that, like, he'd been drawing these kinds of characters back home. I think it's more likely he was just tired of drawing aliens. Like, he exhausted all the good ideas he had in the Frieza arc and was like, what if I just drew like a contemporary story, you know, like something that just wasn't full of wacky creatures all the time. I don't know. Maybe he was just trying to make it easier for himself because he was fucking done. Like, the legend has it that pretty much after every arc, he was trying to be done with Dragon Ball, and they just, I guess, kept offering him more money to keep doing it, so he didn't stop. That's what I assume happened. It seemed like he continued the story because he considered it would be irresponsible to himself and all parties involved to stop doing it. Now, did the stress of working so hard cause him to die young-ish? I don't know. Anyway.
Point in the series, who actually seems to have the faintest idea what's going on, publicly wishing on TV for someone like the boy who defeated Piccolo to save them. In universe, I can only assume that while our heroes were on Namek and holed up in the hospital, some apocalyptic event occurred that killed nearly all the animal people, destroyed civilizations, and wiped out records of the past. I'm not saying I truly dislike this world on its own or in regards to the message it presents. It certainly provides interesting story opportunities at various points. And Mr. Satan is such a Dr. Slumpian character, it's amazing that Toriyama took until this late in the series to add him. However, it is such a radical departure, and I unwaveringly prefer the beautiful, wacky, and diverse...
So yeah, I didn't want to say, like, maybe he was trying to go back to the style of Dr. Slump, because I haven't read Dr. Slump, so I don't know how similar it is. But now I feel like I've just been given permission to say, like, maybe he just wanted to do something more in the vein of Dr. Slump again after having done, like, non-stop action for... Because the Frieza arc is, like, the most ridiculously operatic, you know, totally serious, totally straight-faced, like... It has comedic moments, but mostly it's, like, people killing each other a whole lot, you know? I can't help but think that he felt like, oh, if I'm going to continue the series, I would like to just do the literal opposite of what I've been doing so far, you know?
World Dragon Ball used to inhabit, so its replacement seems extraordinarily tepid by comparison. But maybe that's the reason why these new developments are happening in succession. This new world needs a new god and a new devil. And I suppose this world deserves a god with absolutely no qualifications, someone who exists for no other purpose than to stand around and guard Dragon Balls, while the real heroes do the work. And it deserves a devil who is simply a regular guy with a big mouth and an even bigger ego. However, it's still a world worth saving, so when the day arrives, everyone heads to the Cell Games. Now I suppose I have just enough time to complain about one more thing. When Goku arrives at the temple, he is shocked to find everyone looking morose. When asked why, they explain that they found out that while the Dragon Balls can resurrect multiple people, they can't bring back someone who has died once before. This will later be expressed by Gohan worrying that, himself aside, no one but Trunks could come back to life if killed. But remember, the rule is not that people can't be resurrected multiple times. That is simply a consequence of the actual rule. Shenlong cannot grant the same wish more than once. Shenlong has never granted a wish that involved resurrecting Yamcha, or Tenshinhan, or Piccolo. So really, only 3 of these guys going to the Cell Games shouldn't be able to be resurrected. Whatever, it's a brand new world now, none of the established lore holds any weight. Next time, Cell begins his tournament and we begin the final act of this oh-so-long story arc. Thank you so much for watching. If you would be so generous, please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me in the comments how wrong my name pronunciations are, or how wrong I am about...
so... I didn't hate that video. Again, I halfway like conceptually what he's doing with this series. And it's not like I even mind a person doing opinion pieces, just less interesting to me than the other aspect of it. Of like the deep dive and the more thematic like analysis as opposed to like complaining. I mean, I don't think he was necessarily, like, wrong to be, like, upset about the stuff he's upset about. I just don't think it would matter to me, you know? I don't think it's stuff that I would really be bothered with or, like, be swayed by his take on it, necessarily. Alright, let's finish this solving the Sailor Venus problem video as well, so that we can watch all the other stuff in the queue.
Much time encouraging someone to be in charge.
No monkey yet.
They actually start to do it. Rei begins pushing back against Minako, and when Rei realizes just how dogmatically insistent Minako is on dying for the cause, Rei flips to the opposite extreme, and that's where we get our ideological divide. Rei comes
I'm gonna speed this up just slightly because he talks very slow.
Many of her allies cling to this supposed inevitability rather than actually doing something with the lives they have now. That's the central internal conflict of the series. Is the mission, these grievances of people long dead, worth dying for now? Should Usagi and Mamoru give up their own happiness simply because other people tell them they're fated to repeat the same mistakes of their predecessors? Does Aino Minako deserve to exist? Or is she simply a vessel through which Sailor Venus's mission can be carried out? Rei tries to consolidate the other girls to her side, insisting that they're not fighting because of their past lives. She even tries to push Minako out, under the pretense that her full guardian powers haven't actually awakened yet, like all the other girls have. But there's just one little problem, which means it's time to grab that other little pin. It turns out that Makoto is totally buying what Minako is selling. As I said last time, Makoto's thing is believing that everybody in her life eventually abandons her. Buying into Minako's belief in destiny provides a convenient balm for that pain. She's supposed to be alone. She's destined to be alone. It doesn't matter if she's miserable, because only Sailor Jupiter is important. It isn't until Makoto starts parroting Minako's lines about dying for her mission and nearly chiaotzuing herself against a monster that Minako realizes she's gone way, way too far. Oh god, is that what I sound like? Artemis is finally able to convince her that the happiness she's brought to people as Aino Minako is important too and is worth preserving. It's only then that her true powers finally awaken. They don't awaken when she's single-mindedly pushing for her mission, they awaken when she learns to accept herself. And I think that's beautiful. Now, for a moment, I'm going to pivot away from Minako specifically and talk about the Shitenno, the 4 heavenly kings, the 4 generals, the Elite 4, whatever, the bad guys. Frankly, I feel Sailor Moon has also had a Shitenno problem, something I touched on in my first video. In the manga, they're all backstory, no character.
Did he just pivot into a completely different problem?
They had been Endymion's loyal retainers, corrupted by Queen Beryl to serve her. In the anime,
why isn't this a different video?
Backstory, all character. I'm not sure if the animated staff just didn't know the backstory, but all of that stuff about being connected to Endymion is cut out. They're just bad guys. But at least they have personalities. Nephrite starts to question his values when Naru falls in love with him, ultimately giving his life to protect her. Zoisite is the Starscream, as if I know anything about Transformers.
I'm stupid, I'm stupid!
Petty and scheming, and also in a romantic relationship with Kunzite. I definitely prefer the anime's approach to them over the manga's, but it still feels like there was the kernel of a better idea in the manga. It just never sprouted. So of course, PGSM fixes all of that. That's what it does. First off, unlike the sailors in Tuxedo Mask, who are all put in costumes that are practically one-to-one matches of their hand-drawn counterparts, the Shitenno aren't. Aside from Jadeite, you're probably never going to be able to guess which of these is which. They look nothing like they do in any other version. No biggie though. As this series is more closely rooted in the manga, the characterizations from the 90s TV series are nowhere to be found, but since they have no personalities in the manga, they have to be rebuilt from scratch here. Jadeite and Nephrite are both the biggest Queen Beryl simps. Even when they find out they're under mind control, even when she tries to make them kill themselves, they don't care. They just want mommy. They need mommy. They're ultimately both kind of pathetic. Jadeite at least is savvy enough to jump into Kunzite's winning strategies in order to keep his head above water. Nephrite, however, is such a doormat that eventually nobody respects him anymore, and Kunzite seems to make it his own personal game to see how fast he can break Nephrite's spirit. Kunzite is the wild card. He's awake enough that he doesn't feel any particular loyalty to Queen Beryl, but he's still under her control. He makes it clear that he's not trying to revive Queen Metalia for Beryl's sake, but for his own. This rightly pisses Queen Beryl off. So effective, probably the only one of her underlings who is.
Any of you remember that show that Urobuchi Gen did with the puppets? It was like Lightning Fantasy or something like that. It was like with puppets, but these guys kind of look like the puppets from that show.
Need to get his companions away from Beryl and back to their true master. He frequently projects himself to Mamoru in an attempt to reawaken his memories, often when Mamoru is in the most vulnerable or embarrassing situations. After this point, I'm not entirely sure why Beryl keeps him around, as he's technically undermining her authority and goals even more brazenly than Kunzite is. But I can overlook it because it's such a fun dynamic. Kunzite and Zoisite are both pushing back against Beryl, but have very different outlooks on how and why they should. So even though they're very similar people with very similar goals, they find themselves fighting against each other. Sound familiar? There's a fairly well-known chapter title page in the manga showing each of the girls from the moon paired off with their Earth Kingdom counterparts. It hints that each of the Sailor Guardians had a link to one of the Shitenno in their past lives, if not an outright romantic relationship. Of course, it's rather meaningless, it never goes anywhere, it's just a drawing. PGSM once again to the rescue, making its villains clear parallels to its heroes. It certainly doesn't match up the characters in the same pairings that the manga does, but who cares? As I mentioned last time, Dark Mercury takes pity on Nephrite during her tenure. It's clear they're both the insecure ones, the people pleasers, the ones who are terrified to be rejected and alone. But the main parallels are with Mars and Venus to Kunzite and Zoisite. Venus and Zoisite are both the first characters to reawaken their memories of their past lives, both through a confrontation with Tuxedo Mask. They both look to those past lives for how they should live now. They both display the most fealty to their prince and princess. They're both musically inclined. They both have the same goal of keeping Usagi and Mamoru apart, which is why they literally team up in one episode. Kunzite and Mars both want out. They're looking to the present. Kunzite, however, is much more destructive about it. He also doesn't want Usagi and Mamoru together, but unlike Zoisite, who wants his master back, Kunzite just wants to kill him. He blames Endymion for falling in love with the Moon Princess in the first place. He wants Metalia's power so that he can be in charge, rather than being at the mercy of the whims of a bunch of whiny, lovesick puppies. And as big of an ass as he is, it's kind of hard to blame him for that. I love these boys. Like the girls, they just have so much going on, so many conflicts. They're so wonderfully catty to each other. Their motivations are all distinct, but often overlap, so it makes sense that characters will team up one week and then be at each other's throats the next. They're deliciously malevolent, while still being pitiably tragic. That their own struggles with free will and destiny mirror those of the Sailor Guardians makes the Ishitano the best versions of these characters I've ever seen. And now we pivot back to Sailor Venus. Due to her sometimes dismissive attitude towards the others, I've seen people complain that this version of Minako is a bitch. I think that's
Necromancer, I see you.
And her fears to be extraordinarily relatable and human. I find her relationship with Rei to be one of the
I'm
best.
trying to figure out how many requests I am going to allow to come in before I consider it sadistic, because
So if you don't want the resolutions of these threads spoiled for you, jump ahead to here.
I'm going to go ahead and say no more requests unless you want them to be on a future stream. I'm going to finish the queue and I'm going to fucking pass out.
If she is the 6th ranger of the team, the Minako apple doesn't fall far from the Barai tree, but it's handled even better.
Holy fucking shit, how is there so much more of this? Okay, you know what? I can't with this video anymore. The point is that the live action show characterizes the characters that were not explored very well by the source material, and it like makes them characters. Neat. I'm sorry, but I can't. We're in like the spoilers section. I don't like. I couldn't even follow the plot before that point. I really appreciate this person's passion for Sailor Moon. It made me want to watch the video, because when I click on a video and I see someone like cosplaying a character like all the way and like fully in, like they got all the fucking Blu-rays, they got all the fucking DVDs, they got the backpack. It's like, I am all in on Sailor Moon. I am the expert. I know everything. You really want to see my reaction to the last point in the conclusion section or in this section here? I don't feel like I've had a reaction to any points in this video other than...
Only to realize that none of this is actually happening. And I'll freely admit, when I first saw this episode, I was sobbing. I still cry when I watch it now. And then there are the subtler realizations. This is a huge emotional moment on its own, but it hits even harder when you realize these two characters have only ever referred to each other as Mars and Venus, illustrating their often strained, always professional relationship. I'm almost certain this is the first time Rei directly addresses Minako by name. And in true Zyuranger Geki now wears his dead brother's shield tradition. In the final
Is this the point you were talking about?
Venus' Sailor Star Tambourine, dual wielding them as twin daggers. Mars has truly become Venus' successor. You did it! You did it, PGSM! You actually made me care about those stupid tambourines! Congratulations! I didn't think you had it in you, but you accomplished...
I don't know. I don't know what to... Sailor Moon means nothing to me. Almost. Very close to nothing. So for me, it's hard to really engage with like a conversation about the quality of Sailor Moon or like different incarnations of it. Like, when I was a kid, I saw like tiny bits of it. You know, I heard the US opening song. I marathoned the show to talk about it for Anime Alphabet, and I did not like it. Most of it I really struggled to watch. Just the first season. I didn't watch any past that. So for me, I basically forgot like who any of these characters even are. And then seeing them in live action, and particularly, like, I don't know who the actresses are. I don't know who aligns with what character. Like, when he was just talking about Sailor Venus and just showing Sailor Venus, it's easy enough to be like, okay, that's Sailor Venus in the show, that's Sailor Venus in the anime, you know. But when he starts talking about the rest of the show, I'm like, I can't even tell who's who. Like, I don't know which one of those is Sailor Moon. Which one's okay, that's Mars? What was Mars? Mars was the one who was like a bitch in the show, right? That was her thing. She was like a bitch. And Usagi was a moron. And most of the show is about the two of them sucking. I don't know. I could understand. The show looks like it's like fine as like it looks like Power Rangers, you know, and I'm fine with that. I've enjoyed some Power Rangers, but like I can't imagine watching it at all if you weren't already a fan of the anime, and like what you'd be getting out of it is like, wow, they touched up these things that like I didn't like about the anime and they finally fixed them in the live action version. But like that doesn't really mean anything if you didn't care about the story in the first place, you know? It's like, okay, they fixed it, they made it better. It still doesn't look good, you know? It still kind of looks like a kids show, with really hammy acting and cheap production values, you know? I don't share any of the passion, which makes it just so it's hard for me to engage with any of the points. I can only think about like the structure of the video and how like repetitive it was at first, and then it kind of totally changed directions and became like a character study on Sailor Venus, and then this whole fucking section is like a left field turn to complain about something else. And then we go back to Sailor Venus because we're trying to save the spoilers for the end, but keep this point in before getting to the spoilers. Just the structure of this video is fucked. So for anything I could say complimentary about it, the structure of the video is just like a nightmare. Alright, what are the monkey videos we've got to watch? Oh, is it the ones about the procrastinators and Digibro? Is that the ones? Was that the numbers? Hold on, let me look at the list again to be sure. It seems like it must be, right? What else would make sense? How old are these? Yeah, number 42 and 42.5. Okay. Alright. What do we got here?
I've finally done it. I have infiltrated the Procrastinators podcast, and they have officially accepted me as one of their own. This is a mistake that they will soon regret.
True.
Using my new status as a member of their group, I have spent the last few weeks getting dirt on each and every member, and I am now going to disclose it all. I am going to ruin the personal and professional reputations of every single member of this god-awful podcast, and they will suffer humiliations that will haunt them.
I totally forgot this
rest
adorable
of their
like
lives.
Animal Crossing banner.
You guys fucked with the wrong monkey.
It's got Jeff
and
doing
now
it.
you're going to pay the ultimate price.
Were Jeff and Monkey in at the same time, I heard?
Let's start with
Hey, it's
the head
Digibro.
honcho himself.
Wow, that's so
The
much anime shit.
self-proclaimed genius. The man with nearly 300,000 subscribers.
Have I gotten below that
the
yet?
greatest analyst of children's
Hold on.
cartoons that ever lived.
263,000.
Digibro.
The maximum I hit was
AKA
315,000.
Conrad Collins.
Have I dropped
Here's
back
what
down?
Digibro doesn't want
291k. So I'm still above wherever I
He
was
is
when this was
incapable
made.
of growing facial hair. All those creepy homeless guy beards that he has in his videos are prosthetics that Digi wears to make himself seem wiser.
I wish
In
those had been
reality,
prosthetic
his
beards.
face is as
Then I wouldn't have
smooth
had so
as
much
the
shit stuck in my
crotches of
face.
The lowly anime girls that he wants to fuck so much. You know what they say? The bigger you are, the harder you fall. Nice try, Digi. But we both knew that only one of us could win this war. And you made a fatal mistake in confessing your secret to me. Hypocrite, hypocrite, hypocrite. You know, it's a shame it had to be this way. But you're next on the chopping block. Everyone loves Hypocrite for his wit and his cute beard and his British accent.
Feels really weird watching this, knowing that like everyone's getting misgendered and dead named.
Actually British. He's German. I know this because when I visited his house, he had a Nazi flag up on the wall. And I asked him, "Why do you have that Nazi flag on the wall?"
Chef and Monkey were on at the same time.
It's because I'm actually German, not British. Yeah.
She's actually German and not British is the joke. This one. I know I remember having seen this video when it came out, but like I don't remember any of what's in it. So far, it's a shit post.
Best guy ever. More like
worst guy ever.
Ben Saint. More like
worst guy
worst guy ever.
That one's good.
Endless Jess, aka Jess, aka Jesse, aka Jesse Wood, aka Mr. Wood.
It's just gonna be AKAs.
AKA Drowning in Footwear, aka My Japanese Enemies, aka Man-Child Incorporated, aka Endless Jess. Here's what you might not know about Endless Jess.
I will never forget a chatter asking Trixie what it would take for her to forgive Ben Saint, and she immediately answered with Harakiri. I remember that. That was on our way to the airport in Knoxville. Oh my god, Munchie. Looking so young and rosy-faced.
I don't know who Munchie is. Mage. If it weren't for Digibro, Mage would be the only girl on the podcast. But here's what Mage doesn't want you to know. Mage is actually a girl. That's right. You've been listening to a podcast that has a real-life girl on it.
Not anymore.
Fucking disgusting. Fuck you, Mage. You fucking sicken me.
I think literally more than half of the PCP has transitioned since this video.
Enthusiast. He has made several videos about how he loves trampolines. But here's Davu's dirty little secret. He doesn't actually own a trampoline.
What?
He lives with Digibro now. And
oh,
they
well,
have
yeah,
a
that's
pool,
true.
And they have
we didn't
an
have a
armory,
trampoline.
But they don't have a trampoline. Talk about having principles and living by them. You ever hear of having a code of ethics and values? I guess not. Fuck you. If
When will
there's any
Mumkey
other
join the
members of
transition
PCP
train?
that I missed, then fuck them. They don't
Like,
count.
obviously, being in the PCP at all
shouldn't have
is
challenged me.
massively sus at
You
this
never stood a
point.
chance. I tricked you all into thinking that I
Mage
actually
does
liked you
VTube
because
now.
I wanted to be your friend, and now it's going to lead to your downfall. After these revelations, I wouldn't be surprised if all of your channels lost all of their subscribers immediately. In fact, I'm gonna provide links to all of their channels in the description.
Aw,
so
what a friend.
And watch their subscriber count.
Alright, where's the
So this
follow-up?
one I have to recommend with a grain of salt, because it's definitely not for everybody. I barely even like it. I've probably seen half the episodes, but I think there might be something in there if you look deeper. But maybe just take this one with a grain of salt. There's this internet exclusive anime called
Internet
Digibro.
exclusive
It's about
anime.
This kind of loser otaku guy.
This is a good way of describing
Who
what
never leaves his
Digibro
room,
was. An
dedicates his
internet
entire life to
exclusive
watching
anime.
It's kind of like a sad, pathetic excuse for a human being. But the bizarre thing is that he's like, he gets lucky on the internet. He has a breakthrough. He starts off reviewing like ponies and shit, but then once he goes,
What do you mean by ponies? What are you talking about?
I don't want to go into it. It's kind of embarrassing for the character.
I don't. I mean, what if you're trying to butter me up here? Like, what am I getting myself into at this?
So this character, it's a rags to riches story because he starts off as like a poor loser. He
Fucking
thinks that
don't
a children's
remember this
cartoon for girls
incredibly
is like the
bad bit.
greatest thing ever made. So it's
Why
really,
am I? Why are we doing this as? But girls are like shit.
Yeah. Like a 6-year-old girl, she doesn't know anything about the world.
But girls
so
are
anything
like
she likes
shit.
surely can't be that deep. Yes.
So he's basically like a fag.
I wouldn't go that far because that would imply that he can actually have sex with men. I don't think he can have sex with anybody. I think he's just like a virgin for life once you start reviewing ponies and shit. But at the mid-season 2 finale, there's a huge transition where he decides to drop the pony shit and he starts reviewing anime instead.
At least he made one good life decision.
Yeah. The twist is that he actually becomes popular and famous, and all these fucking idiots at home are paying him like over $1,000 per video to just like talk about anime for 5 minutes at a time. So you get to watch him, like,
now they're paying me to talk about it for like 30 minutes at a time. Thank you very much, Monkey Joe.
And we watch him get fatter. He gets addicted to cigarettes. He gets addicted to alcohol. He becomes an alcoholic. And
I don't
his
smoke
only friends
cigarettes
are, like,
anymore,
7
just
people
weed.
in a chat room, and they pride themselves on being procrastinators. So like, the only part of their personality that is relevant to them is that they put off doing important things.
Right.
So it's kind of like a slice of life anime about this loser who becomes famous on the internet. But if he ever leaves the house, everybody thinks he's a freak, so he never leaves.
I feel like this would strain my suspension of disbelief to like.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. I don't think it could actually happen in real life.
Like, why would they think that I'm just gonna buy into this idea of like some fat fag like reviewing children's cartoons and getting paid by people? Like, it'd be one thing if it was like a corporation, like just giving him, you know, like just advertising this shit to like 5-year-olds, but like people. Like, what is it, like kids stealing their parents' credit cards or something?
I don't know how many characters would even have money to give him, because anybody who likes anime isn't going to have an income.
Yeah, like what kind of like person with their life together is watching YouTube videos?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I mean, it's kind of in the same vein as like, you know, One Piece or Naruto, where I can suspend my disbelief enough to enjoy the show, even if the character is kind of like a pretentious asshole who thinks he's always right.
This One Piece, like,
oh wait, it never ends. It's still going. It's still going. I'm hoping that the character kills himself soon, but it's just it's still going indefinitely as far as I can tell.
Oh my god. It's pretty funny in spite of how fucking terrible we both are at improving. Stuttering over every fucking line we say. Oh man. Alright, what's the next one? We've got... We knocked out the God Devil. We knocked out Monkey's reviews. We got Salad Fingers, the Hideaki Anno short, and the most profound moment in history of animated film. So we'll do each of those. And then I'm fucking going to bed. No more requests after this. Or else they're being handled on a later stream. Okay. Salad, is it just, you gave $20. Is that enough to watch all of them? No, that's enough to watch like 4 of them? Alright, we're salad fingering. I'm not leaving yet. I still have to watch like half an hour worth of shit. I just am not taking any more requests.
To touch them. The feeling of rust against my salad fingers is almost orgasmic. I must find the perfect spoon.
Sure. Get that spoon, dog. This music sounds kind of like Chocolate Rain. Chocolate rain. Some stay dry and others feel the pain. Chocolate rain.
Child, I'm here to inquire about your spoons.
I ain't got no fucking spoons, bitch. Get the fuck out of here.
Might I ask where you keep the spoons? I see. Then I must leave. But first, I'd like to caress this rusty kettle.
He really likes that rust. Okay, so he's a man with salad fingers who likes the rust. Salad fingers should be smashed.
Hello.
I knew it was going to be the same goddamn music. As soon as I heard the music, I was like, this is going to be the music in every fucking episode.
Oh, hello there, chaps. You arrived earlier than I expected. And might I say, you are looking rather splendid this evening.
Jesus Christ.
This is Hubert Cumberdale, Marjorie Stewart Baxter, and this is Jeremy Fisher. Say hello.
Ugh.
I wonder what you taste like.
Eat 'em.
Marjorie Stewart Baxter, you taste like sunshine dust.
Salad fingers might need to consider dentures.
Oh, Hubert Cumberdale, you taste like soot and poo.
Why do you know what soot and poo
I've got a
tastes like?
fish in the oven, if anyone's interested.
Alors, Nabila, comment t'appelles-tu? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a?
What? Who that?
Help. Help me.
No,
Help.
I certainly would not.
Oh, thank goodness. I think the heavens must have sent you. I've got a fish cooking in the oven that I just can't reach it. It's right at the back. With your supple little frame, you might be able to squeeze in and get it for me.
Why are you going in there, dog? He's obviously gonna eat your ass.
I can't thank you enough for
The fuck? Oh, some rust. Oh, that's not good. I wouldn't recommend.
When the red water comes out, I like it when the red water
Children,
comes
don't self-harm.
Ah, yeah. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once. Hubert Cumberdale, fancy seeing you here. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue. Somewhere over the rainbow. I must have dozed off.
Bruh.
That fish smells about done.
Well, he definitely cooked that guy. The image here is him like eating his own head. Alright, I don't want to end up hearing that voice in my dreams, so we're gonna stop that now. I've had enough. I have had enough of salad figures. That was, you know. I cannot continue hearing that voice singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow in my head any longer. Joe Boona Tire. Oh, this is the, that, like, animation he did in college, right? That they showed in, Blue Blazes. It, like, blows everybody's fucking mind to shit. Sets the story in motion. Hideaki Anno, absolutely masterful mechanical and effects animator. Absolutely incompetent human illustrator. Incompetence. Unfair. But compared to the level of the mechanical and effects work on which he is just perfect. Amazing. Shame about how shitty cameras were back then, or at least cheap ones. But oh yeah, here's the scene where it happens in the show.
課題できた？なあ、岸本君は？あ、きっちゃんって呼んで。僕ももちろん書いたけど、ちょっと自信ないな。じゃあほの君に見せてよ。いいけど、見たらもっと自信なくなるぞ。ええな、自信満々やん。すごい、動いてる動いてる。しかもダイナミックに。なんだ、あっち大騒ぎやね。すごいやつ変えてきたやつがおんねん。すごいやつ見に行く。
Classic. Alright, we've got episode 3 of Murder Drones, and then the most profound moment in the history of animated film by Max Derat. Alright. Let's fucking go. Oh, that's not good. Murder drones. It's the waitress girl. At least I assumed that they're like fast food waitresses.
Mom, Pop, give her Loomis.
Oh yeah, she's the one with the dead parents.
What are you things?
Eating bread in an hour. Can you imagine going to prom alone?
I feel like I don't deserve happiness.
It really does feel like there's been less and less dialogue in each episode of this show, doesn't it? Good night, Caribou Coon.
Personal space for very alarming coping mechanisms isn't covered under a non-optional family support.
I think she's been going crazy the whole time. I don't know if they explained it, but
You were never there for me. If you want to help now, stay distant. I'm going to talk to Ed.
What is this?
Prom dress. Child small. You're grounded from seeing those bad influencing murder drones. But I talked to your teacher to find you classmates to go with tonight.
Sup, freak? Prepare to be popular.
I'm chaperoning!
I do want to be dapper. But no! That's why you had me find these? You can't interact with the workers anymore, V. We're too dangerous.
Exactly. We show up fabulous. The sad purple one lets us in. We shake some friends. We kill everyone and pop our little head off.
I'm not freeing you for prom murder, V. Jay went hollow spooky snake crab, and we maybe grew up in a haunted mansion. Aren't you worried we have no idea what we even are?
Promise me you and the purple thing will stop prying into that stuff. If you free me now, I promise we'll only kill what we need to survive. Just you and me, Anne.
don't believe it.
Doll, do you ever clean?
Я повесила простынь. Они
Тьфу.
спят.
Hey, so thanks for having me, but now that my dad thinks I'm here, I'm actually gonna... You're hilarious. She's hilarious. You should get ready. You're gonna look so cute in a brave way.
Ванная по коридору налево.
This character reminds me a lot of, in my old web novel, unfinished web novel, Cyrano and Purple Steve. The main character, Cyrano, as a kid, his first friend is a kid named Full Moon Scarlet, and when he goes over to his house, he doesn't quite notice, but it's like obvious that he has killed his parents. And at some point they get into a fight. Full Moon locks Cyrano in the closet with the dead parents for like 5 days. He ends up having to eat them to survive. Maybe it was even longer than that. And then, you know, eventually Full Moon just kind of lets him out because he's like, you know, I'm over it or whatever. I also kind of think Castle in the Sky is boring, but I like Whisper of the Heart.
Как они по-русски любят говорить. Ой, я должна была предположить, что кто-то сможет убежать через вентиляцию, используя выброшенное зеркало как ступеньки.
Something bad. I could help, but
I'm gonna pause this because I have to pee. There's still 10 minutes to go.
the help of you being there with me.
Dapper buddy.
I feel like the emotional conflicts that are established towards the end of each episode of this show are then resolved way too easily within the next episode. They don't really drive the action of the episode. It's just kind of like a side thing that just kind of gets resolved when other things are happening that are more important.
Okay, listen up, nerds. We're doing this a little early, but since the entire prom court mysteriously disappeared, your queen by forfeit is, this. Oh, we're gonna die! Easy, judgy bots. V's my friend. She's done with the murder or whatever. We've been hanging. Yes, best friends. So easily manipulated. Prom queen? Ugh.
everyone after. It's not vain. It's extra sinister.
Unhand them, you thief! I'm confused.
On second thought, you're way harder than doll. Run, idiot!
Oh.
Привет, Ви. Ладно, тебе все понятно.
Definitely sensing some Carrie influence here.
I guess we should,
Узи, тебя вправду взял в сторону дронов убийц? Я не единственная, кто потеряла из-за них семью.
Fight me! Whoever started this wants us to fight. I'm not dealing with anything well, but I'm done dealing with everything alone. We move forward together or not at all.
Как мило. Но мне твоя помощь нужна.
Is this... Ew. You look like garbage. You frickin' freak! As if you weren't using me to try and kill everyone, Miss Petty. Where does this freaking go?
Thank you, Lizzie!
Shut up, loser.
Quit saving me!
Seriously, don't do that again.
Uzi.
Oh, get fucking shitted though.
V, we needed her for answers.
What? She's fine. We will tough her out.
He did that on purpose! She's hiding mystery stuff and being overdramatic about it!
You stop! You! Lucky for you, we're not done yet.
Nice.
worker, John. Was she eating them?
I think we found our folks.
Really? Didn't even taste that good.
You kind of suck.
Yeah, I'm not doing okay.
Как раз к ужину. Не тебе. Жаль. Если я найду то, что ищу, то и тебе помогу.
What?
Извини.
What? Oh, don't you dare! I hate it here!
Oh, that's where I left my excuse to be outside right now.
Sort of a Metal Gear Solid ending shot there. Man, I don't know how to feel about that episode. Like, how do I put it? The first episode had felt overwritten. The other two have felt underwritten. Feels like there's somehow less happening in each episode, but a lot of like action. Like that episode, the stuff that worked really well was like the slow tone setting, like when they're in the apartment at the end with all the corpses and the insects. I thought that scene worked really well. Like earlier on, just some of the like creepy slow moments worked pretty well. The part where they get, really both scenes in the apartment were like the best parts in the episode, I thought, because they both felt legitimately creepy. But then the action, I can't really get a sense of the stakes. Like, what were they fighting about exactly? Who was I supposed to be worried about dying? Like, it doesn't feel like there's going to be consequences for the action. The powers are too confusing. The rules of the universe are too confusing. Like, the alliances, like, characters switching sides all the time, and it's not entirely clear why, other than everyone's just kind of crazy. Everyone's motivation seems to be, I'm not okay, I promise, you know? So, yeah, it's a weird, they're vampires. I felt an overall sense of confusion as to why events were transpiring as they were, or what would be the consequences. Like, if one of them were to die right now, like, what is it going to change in the story exactly, you know? And then they were fighting for like a long time, and I kind of found myself just like, okay, it looks cool, but what are they fighting about? Why do I care about this fight? I felt like I needed to learn more about the Russian girl to care about her fighting. Like, she seemed cool, like aesthetically interesting, but like I needed, before she had like a 7-minute fight scene, to have understood some of her motivations a little bit better. The fact that like the few times there is dialogue, there's stuff like, where did I leave my reason for being outside? You know, like, again, with the kind of metatextual stuff. Like, there's not a lot of dialogue, and I feel like the dialogue is not that good and is kind of getting worse. So I kind of understand having so little of it, because the show kind of works better when they're not talking. But I also think it works better when they're not fighting. Like, or at least fighting for better reasons. Like, I just didn't really understand what the fuck they had to have this whole 7-minute fight for that didn't really resolve anything or have any consequences in the story. The whole like prom queen scene was like, there's like a little bit of tension at first when you're not sure if she's gonna like accept it or reject it, but then the scene just kind of goes on for so long. It's like, okay, well, are they all gonna start fighting or what? You know, like. See, I don't know. It was weird. Very lopsided episode. I did not love it. I enjoyed it overall, but I did not love it. Alright, we got one more thing to watch. Most profound moment in the history of animated film by Max Derat in 2x speed.
Fine. Now, I think it's obvious to anybody who follows my channel that I have a passion for the profound, for things that are drenched in philosophical and psychological depth. I hope that by identifying the most profound works in every medium, I can provide my viewers with a transformative education.
I didn't know this was something somebody was doing, but I appreciate this effort. I once wanted to do like a finding the best story in games by just like playing every game that is considered to have the best story and deciding which one is the best. I feel like Resonant Arc, the podcast, has basically been doing exactly that. Like, pretty much all the games I would have covered, they cover. So,
I want to make you wake up tomorrow morning and have you look at the world in a permanently different way, because that is the mark of true education. Sure, that transformation can sometimes be terrifying, but it is something we must do in order to satisfy our evolutionary instincts. Today, I will be looking outside of my normal realm of expertise, going from the medium of gaming into the medium of animation, a field that is often derided as lesser than that of live action, a cartoonish world of bright colors meant to stimulate the brains of children. In response to those who hold that needless prejudice, I shall present a moment that I believe eclipses most profound moments that can be found in live action film. That moment can be found in the Japanese anime franchise known as Ghost in the Shell. I challenge any of our supposed cultural betters with a prejudice against animation to watch either the Ghost in the Shell movies or the TV shows and then proclaim that it's just a cartoon. The entire franchise is one long meditation on the nature of human consciousness. What makes human beings special compared to other animate beings? Is there anything that really differentiates us from animals or cyborgs or androids? Allow me to present some meditations on this question, made not only by Ghost in the Shell but by the philosophers that the franchise references. Before I begin, I wish to address those of you who have watched my original video on the first Ghost in the Shell movie. If you wish, you can skip to this point in the video. That way, you don't have to wait longer to find out what I believe is the most profound moment in the history of animation. However, if you have not seen that original video, I strongly recommend you pay attention for the next few minutes. I'm sure that that at some point during your secondary or post-secondary education, you have learnt of the phrase, I think, therefore I am, arguably the most famous of philosophical maxims. The original author of this phrase, René Descartes, was aware of the limitations of human perception. How could we be certain that the world we see before us isn't some illusion brought on by a malevolent force, be it a demon or something like the Matrix? We never can be. In the search of an irrefutable reality, Descartes crafted his maxim. If all else is an illusion, at least Descartes could be certain that he existed, because he could think. For hundreds of years, and even arguably to this day, this maxim is held to be self-evident, to be the base of all philosophy. What a lot of people don't know is that there were philosophers providing challenges to Descartes' maxim, most notably the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. In Nietzsche's book, Beyond Good and Evil, he challenged
I realized from Victor getting high the other day, a few weeks ago or whatever, that you can also have the belief that if you do not think, therefore you are not. Because every time he went a second without thinking, he was like convinced he was about to stop existing.
In other words, you did not create the idea for revenge. Rather, the idea came to you. It is for reasons like these that Nietzsche criticized Descartes' notion of I and thus fostered doubt in his supposedly infallible maxim. To make the maxim more accurate, Nietzsche figured we should remove the notion of I from I think therefore I am, and instead assume that something is thinking. Now, I bring all this up because we see this philosophical dilemma acted out in the first Ghost in the Shell movie. The main character, Motoko Kusanagi, is a cyborg suffering an identity crisis. Every part of her, with the exception of her brain, is artificial. The original owner of the brain, at least in regards to the first film, is unknown. With the lack of a personality, with the lack of memories to define her individuality, we see Motoko struggle to find her true identity. Who was she before she became a cyborg? Did she even exist at all? Does she exist now? When the character of Bato witnesses Motoko's struggle with the notion of self, he tangentially invokes Descartes' maxim. Isn't it enough that she has the ability to think, therefore she is? Though Bato never receives a direct response, the creators of the film imply the response throughout the story. The most notable example is with the scene on the boat. While Bato and Motoko are philosophizing with each other, they both hear a voice speak up inside their cyberbrains. The voice sounds like Motoko's. When Bato asks whether or not Motoko was the one that spoke, she remains silent. The film cuts to the next scene before we can get a definitive answer. What this scene is trying to convey relates back to Nietzsche's criticism of Descartes. Is it I who thinks, or is something else thinking? Was it Motoko that spoke, or did something else speak? Did she think up the phrase, or did something else? The notion of I, or the ego, is challenged in other parts of the film. Notably with the garbage man, his memories were implanted into his augmented brain. His notion of self, therefore, is completely false. The terror this man feels upon realizing this fact is mirrored in the audience, and no wonder. If the human brain can be quantified, if its mechanisms can eventually be replicated or manipulated, maybe our notion of self can be replicated, manipulated, or worse, obliterated. Worst of all, if our egos can be obliterated by technology, what does that say about the human notion of a soul? Maybe there is no soul, let alone one that makes human beings special. Maybe there is no ghost in the shell. This was the terrifying element that I referenced towards the beginning of this video. When our preconceptions are challenged, it leaves us in a state of existential limbo, brooding, spinning, resentful, and unsure of where to go. Billions of people around the world live and die by a belief in the soul, in an ego that transcends the body after death. If that's not true, if we're not actually special and our egos are illusions that can be manipulated by technology, then there might be no purpose or meaning to our consciousness and all the suffering it brings. Luckily, Ghost in the Shell offers two potential solutions to this existential dilemma. One solution that we see at the end of the first film is a merging of body and mind with machines. Doing this will elevate our consciousness to such enormous heights that we can become godlike. This is why when Motoko's consciousness merges with that of the puppet master at the end of the first film, she sees an angel descend from above. Her mind is rising to a level of greatness that can only be described as heavenly, and represented using an imperfect human concept like an angel. It's a beautifully poetic notion to evolve beyond our primordial paths and become immortal. It addresses the pain of existential angst. To illustrate such an event and also make it somewhat believable, it might cause some to declare Motoko's transcendence as a profound moment. Maybe even the most profound moment, at least in the history of animated film. It's hard to argue against such a declaration, given the fact that Ghost in the Shell is the most celebrated film in the realm of Japanese animation with the possible exception of Akira. However, I would boldly challenge this declaration. While this moment is undeniably profound, I think there is one that is slightly more profound. It deals with a potential second solution to this problem of existential angst, where instead of becoming like a god, one goes in the exact opposite direction. This moment can be found in the film's sequel, Ghost in the Shell 2, Innocence. The story of Ghost in the Shell 2 takes place 3 years after the events of the first film. Motoko Kusanagi has long since disappeared into the net after having merged with the puppet master. This time around, the story centers on the aforementioned Bato and his partner Tobisa. They are investigating a series of possible murders carried out by sex dolls against their owners. The theory is that somebody is implanting replicated consciousness into these sex dolls and programming that consciousness to kill. During their investigation into who this programmer might be, Bato and Tobisa arrive at a mansion owned by somebody named Kim, an ex-soldier turned hacker who potentially has ties to the manufacturer of the sex dolls. After searching the mansion, they come across a human-sized, digitally augmented marionette laying lifeless in a chair. Convinced that this marionette isn't so lifeless, Bato turns the chair over and addresses the marionette as Kim. Kim then begins to speak. When Bato and Tobisa ask Kim why he chooses to live in a motionless marionette, he responds by condemning humanity's inherent imperfection. Man's knowledge, man's perception of reality, both are corrupted for various reasons, be it bias or plain irrationality. How often do we witness our fellow man ignoring or willfully obscuring reality in order to protect their emotions? Kim figures that the only way a human can transcend these imperfections is to either become a god via augmentation of the human body, or to go in the opposite direction. To Kim, that opposite direction involves becoming a doll. By separating the mind from the body, the mind's perception of reality won't be corrupted by the body's imperfection. Kim's mind, like Motoko's mind, exists in the virtual world, in the net, only returning to the body when necessary. When the mind is absent from the body, that body becomes more or less that of a doll. This notion of separating the body from the mind in order to achieve true enlightenment is typical of Eastern religion, specifically Buddhism. The aim of the Buddhist is to reject the illusion of material world in order to achieve nirvana. For the sake of this discussion, nirvana can also be understood as true reality. The creators of Ghost in the Shell 2's story take this ancient religious concept and couch it in a secular, scientific scenario, one that could very well happen if and when consciousness becomes digitized. In other words, the Buddhist concept of nirvana could theoretically become real. At least least in a digital sense. We would leave the imperfect reality as perceived through our mortal bodies, and we would do that by separating our mind from our body. And to drive Kim's point home, he demonstrates just how easily our perception of reality is corrupted, not just to Batou and Togasa, but to the audience. At this point in the film, the scene of Batou and Togasa entering the mansion and confronting Kim begins to loop. The same thing happens 3 times with only minor details changing. At first, the 2 protagonists, as well as the audience, get the sense that something's off, but they don't quite know what it is. Things become especially odd when Marionette turns into a marionette of Togasa, and the supposedly real Togasa has its insides revealed to be cybernetic. For the few minutes that this happens, the characters and the audience get a hint that what they are perceiving isn't real, but in those few minutes, they are unable to determine what, if anything, is real. Though it is eventually revealed that Kim was hacking into the minds of Batou and Togasa and was causing this loop in reality to happen, we are left with an important question. At what point did reality stop and Kim's hacking begin? If we were in Batou or Togasa's shoes, would we be able to know? Most likely, we would forever lose our grip on reality and become the dolls, the playthings of somebody or something like Kim. Thankfully for us, the audience, we were only at the mercy of the film's director, Mamoru Oshii, for a few minutes. But even then, the impact of the scene is permanent for those who truly understand it. If human beings, to quote Kim, can be quantified and reduced to simple mechanisms and materials, what makes us so different from dolls? What prevents us from being played with by forces greater than ourselves? To an extent, we already are the playthings of our emotions, as I stated before when talking about revenge. Who's to say that one day, when brains can become digitally augmented, that we couldn't become full automatons, that our perceptions of reality could be permanently corrupted, that we could forever lose our sense of self and become nothing less than a doll? If we assume that human beings are quantifiable, then theoretically, human beings are dolls to a certain extent, and can have their sense of self obliterated. The fact that Ghost in the Shell 2 made not only a convincing case in this regard, but also demonstrated how easily our perception of reality can be toyed with, truly makes this the most profound moment in the history of animation. While I believe the first Ghost in the Shell film on the whole is better and more important to the medium, I don't believe any moment from that film measures up to the level of deep philosophical insight presented by Batou and Togasa's interaction with Kim. This could easily become our future, and thankfully we have this film to prepare us. We can decide whether or not to augment our brains. We can possibly install software to prevent this sort of hacking from happening. Having said that though, we are all going to have to make that step towards the next stage of human evolution sooner or later. The only thing we need to decide, however, is which route to take. Do we become like gods, where we perfectly augment our bodies and minds with technology, or do we become like dolls, where we separate our mind from our body and forever become one with the digital matrix? Let me know what you would choose in the comment section below. If you liked this video, please hit that like button. When you do that, it tells the YouTube algorithm that not only this video, but all the other videos on my channel.
I'm glad I watched that to understand what the hell Ghost in the Shell 2 is about, since I didn't get it when I watched it a long time ago. And now I'll probably understand it if I were to watch it again. It's a good video. Very good. Although my biggest contention is that while I do think on a philosophical level this idea is really interesting, I don't know if I necessarily believe that it's actually possible to separate the consciousness from the body in a meaningful way. Like, I think that the consciousness develops as a byproduct of the body, and that you couldn't make them separate. I don't know if it's ever going to be actually possible. I think we underestimate how much your body contributes to your sense of self and everything. Like, I don't know what you could digitize like holistically enough to resemble yourself satisfyingly enough that people would want to do that, besides just for, like, I mean, I guess if you knew you were gonna die and you knew that the best you could do is like a barely an amount of yourself translated into the next body or whatever, maybe you'd go for it just because it's like better than being outright dead. But what comes out the other side is not going to resemble what was there, and it can't behave human if it doesn't have a human body. I just think the body is too integral. I don't think the mind and body are that separate. I could be wrong. I don't really understand neuroscience or technology that well. Alright, that's it. This stream is ending now. Thank you everybody for staying up and watching anime with me. I gotta clean up this whole fucking office, and then I'm gonna crash out and go to bed. Because I've been up for goddamn close to 24 hours. This was fantastic. Had a great time. We will definitely do this again. Maybe next time Bird's got a day off the next day. Alright. Peace out and chill, y'all. How do I end this fucking thing? Hold on. I'm still here until, here we go, I hit this button.